Welcome to the study session for this evening, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at the small blind, 20 big blinds deep. We're going to look at it in two different ways. We're going to look at it how to play against the big blind, which is going to be a generally wide strategy. And we're going to look at it how to play against all the other positions that open. And that's generally going to be a very linear strategy. Oh, thanks for the kind words, Al. All right.
Yep.
So to start with, we're going to take a look at the range of how we play this spot versus the big blind from a GTO perspective. And so here we go. This looks like a mess. How are we going to figure this out? All right. So much like when we looked at the buttons range, where they're going to get some shoves, they had a block of shoves here, a block of shoves here, some shoves here, and a couple of shoves here. We're going to have that idea here. These hands that want to realize their equity with having a pair, because it's hard to make a pair, are just going to shove. Hands here are going to be able to raise and call off. So these ones want to raise and call off all along these pairs. These aces are just ahead enough that they want to shove. And then we got to find some kind of bluffier hands that go with this. And so we look at these low EVs, right? Because all these EVs are pretty high, 1.79, 1.26, 1.48. So these are kind of our value shoves. So our bluff shoves are going to come from these offsuit kings that wrap around the wheel, and a couple of connectors here in the middle. Poker coaching uses 9-8 suited and 9-7 suited instead of 7-6 and 8-6 off, 8-7 off. But an idea is that occasionally you're going to have a bit of a shove from this section. Joey gave me an idea a few weeks ago where if you see three combos that are mixing like this, it's easiest just to kind of, if you can remember for yourself, is pick one of those combos and do it more often, right? So maybe you're not doing clubs, but you're doing the other three with 7-6 suited. And that's going to get you an idea of, okay, am I going to do king 6, king 5, and king 4 and mix all of them at different frequencies? And it's just a little easier to pick king 5 and do it with king 5 when you get king 5. And that's still going to give you that type of right amount of estimation. Now, our raising range, this is the value street, right? And it goes down into the kings. These ones want to raise for value a lot. We have the triangle of trouble here that goes from king 4 to 9-8 and back to king queen and down the line here. This is your triangle of trouble. You are going to find raises from here a lot. You'll notice the hands along the pair axis, so the unsuited connectors, want to call more often, and the ones just below it want to raise more often. So that's going to give you an idea about this triangle of trouble. Here is your boomerang of bluffs. These are some of your worst suited hands that are going to arch around the worst suited hands. And they're occasionally going to bluff, right? There's none of them that are doing it at full frequency, save for this 10-4. So if you're mixing in your strategy and you're finding some bluff raises with this, that is great. So value, traps, largely bluffs, and largely bluffs. Everything else is going to want to call. The big blind, when we take this type of a line, whether it is our, well, first we'll take a look at what the big blind does when we go all in. It's going to be very easy. He's just going to call with his best stuff and fold everything else. right? Note, because of our jam range, if a person isn't defending with all their suited broadways and pretty much all of their offsuit broadways, aces down to 3 and 5, they are going to be overfolding. So when you get in this spot, jamming should work a lot. Should work
Okay.
about 80% of the time. When we go to a raise strategy, the big blind is going to respond by shoving a lot of aces and a lot of small pairs. But that's okay because we don't have these in our range because we shove them on our end. So we don't have tough decisions with these to make. What we do is when he shoves, we will have our pairs that we were trapping with, sixes plus, our value streets, these aces and kings, a couple of hands here that are going to be the suited connector that makes it and the suited connector that doesn't. Because some of these don't raise, they're not in here at any frequency, and some of them shove, so they're not here at any frequency. And these three kings, these three offsuit kings are not going to be earning a ton of money, but they are also still going to defend primarily. But these are the kind of the lowest options that we have, right? King 9, King Jack, King 10, 10, 9, right? But to kind of meet us and not be exploitable, right? We need to find some calls. Now, this can also be a little more player dependent. The tighter the player is, the less I feel inclined to call with the bottom of range, right? And you should be in game 2. If you have a great tool like Poker Tracker 4 and play on Poker Stars, it tells you a lot about how a player plays post flop and how the player is shoving and how aggressive a player is. And that type of tool is very useful when figuring out, should I be calling this guy a little wide or should I be calling this girl a little tight? What should I be doing with this structure? When the small blind has a call, the big blind is going to respond by quite a variety of options. They're going to have some shoves, again, primarily constituted around their ace. They're going to have some raising, mixing their small and big size. They're also, look at this, going to take the value street, and their bluffs are going to be way down here, filled in with all kinds of garbage. When they're taking all of this to Value Town, they get to take all of this trash along with them. But you will notice the suited side for the big blind really wants to realize its equity. It wants to play a flush draw in position badly. And so it doesn't find very many non-super value hands to raise from the suited side. Its raising is aces, pairs, and trash. So back to our small blind and our conundrum here. We have our aces, our pairs that jam, some small mix here, our boomerang of bluffs, our triangle of trouble, and our value street. So now we're all prepared to kind of go in and see what that looks like in implementation. So let's do some trainer work today. 7-5 off. One gapped along the pair axis. Is this going to raise or call? Let's take a look. Just a call. And we get a very spicy flop. Now, both opponents' ranges have shown a propensity to raise or shove a lot of aces. So both of us are particularly devoid of this card. This is kind of a very neutral board. both of us are largely devoid of pairs, which are shoving or raising. So both hands here are filled with a ton of trash and very little of it around this board. So in this type of a situation, who would want to bet or who would want to check?
This seems like something I would probably just take it very slow. He's gonna have some, I guess, I don't know. We might have some ace X. Maybe I would bet here. I'd bet one big blind.
Yeah, I think this would be, if you're betting here, it's almost always going to be one big.
Hmm.
Sounds like a good idea. I would be
Hmm.
itching to bet this type of a combo that's going to get some better hands to fold.
Yeah,
And yeah, mixing heavily, and both are the exact same EV, and it's because ranges are so wide here. Like, we just don't know what our opponent has, and our opponent doesn't really know what we have. Small blind against big blind is one of the hardest spots because of how wide the ranges are. So let's
Yeah.
take a look. When ranges are wide, right, you generally wind up with a small bet strategy primarily. And I think we're going to see a lot of that here. Yep. 58% small bets, less than 1% big bets, 40% checks, and heavily mixing throughout, right? If you look at the bottom of the menu, there's a lot of stuff down here that wants to bet. As we get closer to the middle of the menu, there's a lot of stuff that wants to check. And of course, all of our aces want to bet primarily. A lot of our kings that have some showdown value and queens that have some showdown value here want to check. And it's because we have so much trash at the bottom that wants to bet. Right? Again, our tens also very highly mixing here. In a situation where they're either way ahead or way behind. And with the board being ace, ace, 10, and there being a lot of Broadway stuff that gets raised. Like, if you have a 10 here, you know, you are way behind an ace and way ahead of everything else and drawing, and everything else is drawing in a lot of trouble against you, right? Like 10-8 off is earning 3 chips here, right? 10-3 is earning 3 chips here. These hands are just crushing this range. So an interesting kind of spot to kind of delve into and an idea to continue with. But we get a call and ranges become slightly more defined. Our opponent has started to fold out some trash. Out of position, we don't really pick up direct equity. We don't have a heart. We have some worse hands that we've bet here. But again, still no draw. Our opponent has shown resistance. I think I would be waving the white flag here. Right? We just don't have a straight draw here. So
yeah, I just don't think it's gonna be a good card to bet. I think if we got called, I would shut it down. Maybe if we had a heart, I would continue firing.
And so let's take a look at that with the 75 offsuit and see if the heart makes a difference. I think the heart is going to pick, but I think it's probably going to pick some bigger hearts, like if we had queen 5 here. Queen of hearts. 75. Again, you can see a minutia. If you have the 7 of hearts or the 5 of hearts, does occasionally bet here.
Hmm.
But queen 5 with the queen of hearts, it lasts.
Yeah, you lose it.
Yeah. So, yeah. When we do some range construction work, understanding where to pull bluffs from, and that instinct of finding a heart to block the continues, the back doors for his lowest draws, uh, when an opponent on this board all of a sudden on the turn pots it with queen five on ace, ace, 10, 8, like it's just going to be hard to defend against that because it's value paired with ace 7 of clubs, right? Or ace 5 of clubs. So
Jack 7 and Jack 9 are going nuts because they're straight draws.
yeah, and they would continue with a barrel. So if we had a different hand, they would choose the more value-based size of 55%. Right, with these different assorted straight draws here. And that's why I said, okay, 75 didn't pick up equity, it didn't make a straight draw, so kind of time to shut that one down. The board pairs, we are playing the board. Do we just take a chance that our opponent gives us 2.5 chips and we play the board, or do we bluff this?
So do they check back turn? I
Yep.
mean, I would highly doubt it's gonna wanna, so what are we targeting for folds? Let's think about it that way.
Jack high, queen high, 9 high.
Yeah. So there is gonna be some stuff that wraps around the 10. That will continue. That's not an 8.
I'm always betting with this hand, just betting small to try to get any better air to fold.
Yeah.
Or
I'm kinda-
to blow, or one big blind gets a lot of, even if they have worse hands, like if you have like 5-3, you get them off chop.
I'm just nervous about getting called by jack high or queen high. Like I wanna have enough in the tank to get a fold.
You will, but I think some of those hands would have probably started betting turn. Like jack highs, I think would like 9 highs and jack highs, I think would have started betting.
Well, it's not always
turn.
about getting folds, right? We're gonna get here with queen highs and king highs.
Hmm,
Like I'm betting king high for value.
yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Take a look at that here.
And, yeah, I mean, giving it up or betting basically anything was, pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah. So on the turn, we had a question, why was Jack 7 off going nuts? So Jack is an overcard to the 10. And
Jack 7,
is
Jack
gonna
7,
block the
Jack
straight.
9, and 9-7 are all straight draws.
Hmm.
And the Jack is an overcard to the 10 as well.
I think all
Um,
your straight draws are betting turn.
So here we can see Queen High just wants to show down. Even Jack High just wants to show down because it beats the board. The aces and 8s with the 10. So because the kicker plays, the King Highs are pretty much all betting for value. Right, and of course your aces are betting an assortment, and then your trash is finding some bets. And it's going with the stuff that interacts with the straight in any way, shape, or form. And just giving up with
Oh,
stuff at the bottom of the end.
I think I see a pattern. It's a lot of the hands that block the opponent from having 10 also.
I blocked him from having a what?
A 10.
Not
Yeah.
so much. It's blind versus blind, then he limped, so. Like he has 10-2 off in range still.
Yeah, so a little bit of 9-7 and stuff like that, right? The ones that are more inclined to be here with a straight draw. Right? So you block a bit of value with his closest holdings with 9-10 and 9-8 and stuff like that when you have a 9 in your hand. Same with the 7. You block his value with the most likely connected cards with a 7 and an 8 and a 10. Yeah, and then
When
just gives
we-
up with this stuff.
When we bet the 7.5 sizing, is he ever folding a 10?
Ooh. This size, and is his response there with a 10? Let's take.
I'm wondering if that's why it's choosing this sizing.
Never.
No,
folds.
never.
So it's always a value bet.
It's interesting.
So which combos is it choosing? It's choosing all our tens are doing that. Some of our aces are doing that.
So
it's-
mostly 8x.
So yeah, again, the idea of danger with two very wide ranges here encourages the small bets a lot. And just calls with a king. Which is why you can bet for value with a king. Do a little bit more. Oh, so good. Are we going to raise, shove, or call? And are we going to mix that?
So this one, I play as full frequency call.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna have a minor frequency of raise, not all in. I don't think it'll jam, but it's gonna be like 90% call, I think.
Yeah, I think it's mostly call and then a little bit of raise and then a tiny bit of jam.
I think it's
Yeah.
either, yeah, I think with the offsuit stuff, very rarely mixes. It's usually just jam or call.
So so one thing you're gonna see pretty common that I know is a small blind limping range is protected by ace queen off and ace jack off and sometimes ace 10 off. Like those three combos are what keep people from running you over when you limp combos. Even ace king
Very-
here.
Yeah, very heavy call in this block. Right? Protecting our range. Particularly because when our opponent has an ace, they are going to shove and we are going to cooler a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this just keeps people respectful.
So low frequency shove, because it's at the bottom end. High frequency call. This hand is a trapping hand a lot. But we don't get the gift of the shove. And we have to play post flop.
And the other nice, yeah, and the other really nice part about this, as opposed to just protecting it like pre-flop is when you have a limp check pot, big blind is relatively capped. Big blind isn't showing up here with very strong hands. While all of a sudden, you have a range advantage now in this scenario. So like, it's easy to kind of push equity here sometimes. I just kind of relentlessly bet high cards in these limp check pots, blind versus blind. It's a little different when you're this shallow, I imagine, but yeah,
So you're betting this board with king high?
I would just bet one big blind here.
I'm like pure checking here. With no spade.
It was mixing the strategy, primarily checking, but definitely had some bets.
Hmm.
Facing a half, 55% pot bet, gotta call one street, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It's like you got enough equity to even raise a little bit.
Spade completes.
Yeah, that's not great. See, we'll have a lot of suited combos here.
But it shuts him down too.
Hmm. Yeah, it
Okay, who
does.
gets the river?
Yeah, I think we just have a strong enough combo to show.
So my question is it going to try and show down ace high or is it gonna show down ace high and queen high here?
It's a good question. I don't know about queen high.
So one thing that I've looked at, and then we'll see if this holds true here, is that queen high is like the second pair, so ace high and king high, but in this case with the king on board, ace high and queen high would be often good enough just to show down. Right, primarily checking, but a little bit of betting, and you can see maybe this is betting for value with it being worth over a chip.
Yeah, it has to be because you're not, because there's almost no ace X now, other than there's a smattering of like, maybe like ace. So
Some
offsuit ace
trashy
X,
one.
so
Yeah, some
trashy
trashy.
aces that are just trying to get showdown.
And we're
Like-
ahead of all of the bases.
Yeah,
They're all gonna call.
so that's probably the reason. It also freezes a lot of hands
There's actually
Like,
not
a
much.
lot of
ace
nine,
X
a lot of
in-
9x, a 9x then checks, probably a lot of eight and
I actually
9x all
think-
checks.
I think he has more aces than we do because we only have ace. It's close, actually. We have ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack off. And he has his suited aces.
Mm,
Some of those suited aces. A lot of those suited aces would have raised. Just the wheel aces are probably the only things that would be left.
I think a lot of them limp, no? Like
Take a look
pre-flop?
at what he has. So he has these ones here.
he's got the
Ace eight, ace
trashy
seven,
offsuit
ace six,
ones.
ace five, ace
Yeah, it
four.
looks like all of the suited ones, his suited wheels, suited aces are just raising or pre-flop.
Can we
They're
see,
just not in
can we
this.
see, yeah, can we see his pre-flop range?
Sure.
Sorry.
I think at
problem.
20 big blinds, he's gonna be doing some jamming with those.
So he is jamming the worst offsuit ones. He's raising the best offsuit ones.
Mm,
He is here on the street of value with his aces and kings. These ones are all looking for value. And
right.
then these ones protect, but they're probably not in range because they're going to interact with this flop in some way that's going to not allow them to get to the river. So he's only left with this sliver of hands that gets to the river. And he shows us the deuce.
mm,
A blocker and a deuce. All right. In these spots where you're going to be wide against wide, it is going to be dangerous. You're going to get stacked sometimes with hands. We're going to blow off some chips, and this is one of the most dangerous spots because it's wide against wide. 10-3.
Aren't
I'm
you
raising
raising from
very
it?
Raise.
frequently.
10-3,
Like nine,
it might be in the boomerang.
That
I'm rating
little
like
corner you were
80%
raising
of the
from.
time.
So this,
80%?
so this hand, I'm actually just checking this hand a lot.
Okay. Why?
It's suited, it can realize equity reasonably well. If we're facing aggression, it's easy to just let go. Like, it doesn't have any real good straight connectivity. I know it's towards the bottom of like the boomerang there, so like, I'm just wondering if it's like right below it. Like, it's probably fine to definitely raise.
And what's your reasoning, Nick? I'm interested to hear why are you raising that?
Just from looking at small blind charts, like the suited, it might be like a pip low, but and I haven't looked at 20 big blinds in forever, but like 10-4, 10-5 suited, we're raising a ton.
Okay,
And then it-
That chart he was showing earlier was raising in that little corner there. I noticed it was like 10, 3, 4, 5, like you said, and nines.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure,
it's
and
just
we're
in
gonna
there.
take a look at this one here.
I don't
This
raise
is-
it, but I just noticed that chart, you showed earlier, that little corner there was.
Yeah, I always miss the twos and threes. I do a weird thing where I just bet all the fours pure, which is probably not like the jack four, 10, 4, 9
there,
for
yeah.
pure.
Sure. And
First.
again, the idea is to
Three.
pull from this area.
yeah,
So,
Yeah, I
you know, if
mean-
you're not finding, 6-4 and 5-3, but you're finding 10-4 and 10-3.
sure.
Yeah. And
Can
it's
you take it to,
usually because I know I'm raising like all of my suited to ace five. And then,
Yep.
so that I'm kind of balancing that out with the 4x basically.
When I first started playing poker and I was writing notes and I'd see guys do these kind of moves, I'd write them as a fish. And now I realize how much the fish, like. And I
We've
think,
come
I
with-
don't know, lots of people probably did that. Now I just, when I see guys play, I always question like, okay, and I look at their winnings, I'm like, this guy's got like
That's
60K
good.
in winnings, so. There's probably something he's doing that I just don't know.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's coming full
Yep.
circle, right? Like,
It is.
you're,
Makes
I
you're,
learned
it
so
you're,
much
better.
from coming around, so.
I tag the solver as a fish on a daily basis.
The bottom line is if you're in here and you are finding the boomerang of bluff and you
Mhm.
make this in a game,
Yeah,
you are going to print because when you raise this hand, you know what an opponent thinks you're raising? This
Yep.
hand.
Yeah,
And you are just going to
Hey,
get
I
a
always have
ton of better
aces
stuff.
when I raise. When I play live
what's your
poker, I
tag?
always have ace, king, aces, and jacks.
And
Her
your
tag
opponents
is
tell you that
Sin.
too.
Always fold the Sin. She's very scary. She's a
What's
nit.
what's your username? Just so I know this. Thanks. Thanks in advance.
Her username is $15,000 live last week.
There you
Well,
go.
last month. Nick,
Last
how
month.
did life go?
Same difference. It's still killing it.
I fired 2 bullets in the main and busted both.
Damn, Dooley got a dang ring. That was crazy. I went to bed because I'm like, I have to be responsible. And today I'm gonna go to bed and be responsible too, just try and relax but it's like, dang, he had a ring.
Yeah,
That's
he
what I
pops
said,
in
yeah.
occasionally and
I'm sitting here getting
we're
2
happy.
11s in a second. I made 1K on the Sunday, so that was really good.
So do we raise? Yes. Looks like it. So this is
We raised.
Yes, this is the what you call the butterfly. We raised the butterfly.
Okay. The
That's what I learned
boomerang
in my
of
women's
bluffs.
seminar.
Right.
You raise the butterfly.
Butterfly
small.
boomerangs.
Yeah, the boomerang shape, the butterfly boomerang shape.
The whole idea is, if that type of terminology helps you understand the spot, call it
Yep.
whatever you can remember it by.
Exactly, yeah. Uh-huh.
So
I would definitely bet here, like, I mean, an ace, queen deuce, this is just all over your raising range.
And you
Eh,
bet bigger
yes.
when there's 2 like Broadway or big cards when it's
Yeah, you
small
definitely
blind.
can, definitely can. And, the other implied thing here is, there's a lot of good bluff turns, semi-bluff turns, right? Like, you're gonna pick up a gut shot, a flush draw, something very frequently.
So you can see we are betting a lot of our range here, 70% of our range, and mixing these sizes pretty heavily. Again, we see our boomerang of bluff really betting a lot.
I guess we are giving up this stuff that can't turn equity. Those are our give ups.
Yeah, like
So we
8-7
don't
here.
automatically bet big.
Yeah.
But all
8-7.
of our suited cards that have
9.
backdoors bet. Okay.
Yeah, these backdoors are really wanting to bet, least of all with a club, right? When we're here with 9-4, the club is the one that wants to bet the least,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? Because it can't, as Galen was saying, it can't turn equity, right? And our 10 wants to bet a lot because it can with a king or a jack, or in our case, a heart. So I think the
Or,
plan
yeah.
will be to barrel a king, a jack, a heart, probably check a 10 or a
So
4.
like, a really attractive property of 10-4 that I didn't realize until just now is it can bluff high and low. So like a 3's good, a 5's good for the wheels. In addition to a jack. Like almost every turn card, you're gonna be able to do something with,
Except this one.
Except that one.
except an 8.
Alright, so is this a give up now? We
Sure.
bet big on the flop, raised pre-flop.
So
Yeah.
like, we are blocking 9-10, which is blocking a gutter, but I don't know, man, I'm stretching. Like, I think you gotta find checks and this is a good one.
What do you do with 10-3 of clubs?
10-3 of clubs, I'm probably not betting the flop as much, but if I am. I would be more inclined to bet, I guess. I don't
Yeah, on
know.
the times I bet 10-3 of clubs, I'm like always barreling the turn.
I think actually I might just give up. Well, do I give up? Hmm,
Take a peek. I would probably not barrel 10-3 of clubs. But let's take a look at that. It is heavily mixing. Both are okay. But betting is going to get you to win. Checking is going to get you to lose less. So
well, so, yeah, I mean, clubs are interesting because you can now target like brick spades and bricked hearts. So like
Yep.
with hearts, you're kind of blocking some of the folds, but with clubs, you're unblocking more. So that makes sense.
That's
here
why
we see
like
a big
diamonds
flip.
are gonna be your most frequent barrel, and then after that, clubs will be your second most frequent. Spades and hearts are just gonna give up.
Yeah, that's right, Nick. You're right, for sure.
Yeah, so now we see that the ranges are going to flip a little bit here. right? When we look at the flop, right, we had a clear advantage all throughout the range because we raised pre-flop and he called. But once he calls our bet on the flop and we chose the slightly bigger size betting, all of a sudden the equities are going to run a lot closer and even overlap where the opponent is favored throughout portions of the range. So, right, we just have more trash here than they do now.
Right.
But they're more defined call our bet range. So check, check. Ooh, now the 10 of hearts becomes relevant again.
So it went check, check. I kinda wanna bluff now.
The 10 of hearts is relevant.
I think if you are gonna bluff this, you probably need to go kinda big. I don't know, in.
Ranges are still pretty wide.
I'm going to jam this in game sometimes.
Yeah,
That's where
you-
I lean towards ripping. I was gonna say the same thing.
yeah, you're blocking the nuts. You can jam.
Oh, jam, savage. I like it. Great job, guys. I am in here like a nit trying to get the deal done with 4 chips, but if you are going to get this done, it's gotta be all in. And
Yeah, not a huge part of the strategy, but for this combo. But this, the bet check bet line, I think it's just gonna end up in a really polar place.
yeah, these blocks down here with the straight blocker.
Yeah, so look at 10-5. 10-5 seems to be more relevant for some reason. Why is it like 10-5 more?
That
Like with
is,
his pre-flop range.
Hmm,
Is it some connective wheel? Is the 4 and 3 have more wheel connectivity than the 5?
mm,
I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm just spitballing. I mean,
yeah.
but
I'm
but
trying
it, but
to
it seems but it seems trivial, right? It doesn't seem like there's a huge
Yeah.
difference.
no, the EV's all the same pretty much here.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
There's some blocker thing that's happening here that probably has to do with him raising the 5. So he does, so when you have a 5, it's not blocking his raise that are bluffs. There's
Yeah,
calls
maybe.
light, so
it's not crazy though, like, Jack 5 also, it makes me feel like there's something going on with the 5 particularly. That it really likes. Jack 6 is kinda going nuts too. 10-6 off.
What's his pre-flop flatting range?
his pre-flop flatting range is super wide. Right? Like he has all these 5s and 6s.
Is it because he has
Right? I guess he
more?
doesn't have these ones. So when we get here and we do this, like I guess we get his king high with a 5 or a 6 to fold.
Well, you're just getting better hands to fold.
I-
It's like,
I
it-
think it's because ace 5 off is in range full frequency, so when you have a 5, it makes it less likely he has an ace.
Okay, yeah. There,
oh,
Ooh, good call.
there is some solver eyes.
yep,
you.
that's smart, Nick. That's it, I think.
And that's why if you want to get private coaching from Nick, he's a good option. Our Poker Teddy for You community.
Yeah, that, yeah, see, when it gets that in the weeds, it does kind of become a trivial thing, just because like in real life, people are rarely balancing their range like that.
Oh.
Alright, so we limped. I would bet small here, to be honest, like the 4 interacts well enough, the 9 interacts well enough, we have spades. We get better to fold. It just has a lot of check marks
You've
for
got
me to,
7 high, anything that folds is productive, ching ching.
yeah, that's kinda
Oh
where I'm at.
no,
Check.
It's kind of like
I
whatever.
guess it's because we're gonna have a lot of draws as well for our semi bluffs. Just when we said we're doing small blind, 20 big blinds, I was like, hey, we just go all in every hand. But then I was like,
Is it-
wait,
is this a function of the
blind
fact that
versus
we don't bet this a
blind.
lot?
I forgot
But
about
then we're
blind
gonna
versus
check this
blind.
like so much because of
I mean, I
That
didn't
we don't
forget, I
need to
just
pull
hate
from a
it.
hand like 7-2.
Maybe.
Let's take,
Because I would think this is a board where we're gonna do a pretty good amount of checking.
Yeah, it might be.
9-4 rainbow. 60% check.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty healthy amount of checking, blind versus blind.
Uh-huh.
It just doesn't like the deuce. Like, if you look at 7-3, which is basically, it's not much different than 7 deuce. It's more of a thing.
Yeah, I guess it is just the worst hand in range, 7 deuce.
I think it's just you want to be unblocking deuce X. Like, you really don't want to deuce because, you're blocking folds again.
Yeah, if you take a look, 7 deuce suited, 0.27, everything around it has more equity, right? It is just the very bottom of your bucket. And so it's probably wanting to give up here with this specific combo,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, if you turn a spade, you can turn a hand and your opponent's gonna check here a lot too. But knowing what it's looking like for EV, it's probably,
Yeah, I would just let it go.
oh, 2 pair. Savage. All right, I think we'll do 1 or 2 more of these and then we'll work back on the other part of the range construction. Jack 8. Oh,
You can raise or call, I think.
Yeah, these
Right.
offsuit gappers, I do a lot of raising with, to be honest.
I think it raises like 40%, like fairly
I
frequently.
was raising a lot yesterday and
yeah, the triangle of trouble.
Yeah, it's in that middle area that raises.
Mhm.
High frequency trouble. We've got ourselves in trouble.
Hmm.
Marginal made hand, chance to barrel.
Yeah, blind versus blind, ranges are wider, so you start seeing more betting with second pair and stuff. I know it's kinda like a
Yep.
marginal made hand, so I still think I just would be barreling like 2 here a lot.
Betting two as well.
No small betting. Okay.
Primarily
It's-
checking.
Just a check.
Yeah, it's still
Take a
checking.
look at what our range does here. So 9-8 is also, because it's directly connected, is gonna fill in a lot of draws that our opponent is gonna have here.
Right.
And we have a card that's really good in that with the jack.
Hmm.
Jack
Yeah,
8.
yeah. And again, it's a high frequency check. So when you have high frequency check spots, you generally don't slide that far down into your value portion of your range.
Yeah, if we look at what we get here with, 20% of our range is top pair or over pair.
Yeah.
And it's going to size up. Second pair and third pair are primarily going to check. And there's not a lot of betting with the small size, except with our really nut hands, 2 pair,
Hmm.
and a little bit of unmade hands. Right?
Coordinated board.
Our open-ended straight that wants to slowly build a pot. Some of our flush draws that want to build a pot really slowly. Right? Protect these ranges here. Okay. So this one, low frequency, but again, 10% of the time it does want to bet here. Well, in the case of being way ahead or way behind, we have reached it.
Jack of diamonds. No.
So if we check,
I
there's a lot of bad cards that can roll off.
Right. I'd wanna bet small here.
agree. I'm betting 3 here.
But I mean, kind of no matter what happens, like it's gonna be really hard to fold 2 pair at this stacked pot depth. It does make it pick this size, and this size. It really wants to bet here. Does check because it is functionally still the nuts, so it checks the nuts sometimes.
Wonder if it's bet folding five. Probably, right?
If it's what?
I wonder if it's bet folding that five size.
Bet folding two pair?
No, I don't think it's bet folding two pair.
Yeah, you can't fold two pair off 20 bigs, blind versus blind.
Yeah, SPR is just way too low.
Okay.
This is the one combo that's really mixing the sizes. Right, and it is predominantly here with the big bet size with both Jack 3, Jack 8. The weird King of Spades bluff. With a 7 that's a relevant blocker. Right, King 10, smaller sizing. So it has some bluffs with the King of Spades particularly here. Right, whatever spade it has when it has an ace. So, not too much trouble there. All. And 6 completes some straights. And I can't imagine that we're not putting all the chips in here.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
always right.
you're just in.
And he made a 6 and
Yeah, there will be some Jack 8, there may be some Jack 8 combos that don't. That like to, maybe, I don't know, maybe not.
that
Like
like to,
what?
They maybe do something other than go all in. And maybe bet small.
I think
some
at 20
frequency.
big blinds, like with half your chips in, I think you're just always putting it in.
I think you're
That's-
jamming a lot here.
Yeah, I mean, you're jamming a lot, but I think there are gonna be some low frequency smaller bets. And I wonder if hands like this
Well-
fit into that category.
When we bet 3 on the turn, we were setting up for stacks.
Yep.
To make a good shove.
so yeah, we do have some not all in sizing here. What am I looking at?
This is
I
his
don't s-
calling range.
Oh, sorry. Small blind. That's 6.5. It does have a little bit of it throughout the range. Some flushes. Some bluffs. Some king jack, some queen jack. So it does have a little bit of non all in sizing,
Mm-hmm.
but not a primary element of the strategy, primarily the all in sizing. And then his
Because
response-
every once in a while you want to protect your smaller bet range with nut hands. Just kind of why.
But like there's straights and flushes available too, so like we don't have to worry about protecting with this 2 pair combo, but you're right, that's the idea. Right, it's gonna mix a bit of sizing there. All right, last one of these.
I think this is
Oh,
gonna, you can call or raise again, but it calls more frequently than the last one.
along
I'm
the
with
pair
Nick.
axis.
This is mostly call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Probably
all
call
the-
like 80, 70%. Somewhere in
all
there.
the ones along the pair axis really want to realize their straight equity. They're gonna be primarily calls. And are gonna be able to withstand a raise.
Yeah, you do continue.
This is an interesting spot here. When our opponent raises, what are we continuing with? The other thing too, this is also a spot where you become highly player dependent.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. This is kind of like defending 3 bets. So,
Mhm.
definitely want to
But-
proceed cautiously.
Because you can see that a huge portion of our range is pretty low EV. You got to be pretty careful and know that an opponent is raising wide enough, or else if you are calling this wide, you are really going to be putting yourself in a bad spot post flop.
Yeah, you're never gonna realize those nickels and dimes.
Yeah, now this hand is just strong enough that it doesn't matter, if the player's a little more linear, this one's still okay. Right?
Yeah,
The
So,
Broadway
yeah.
stuff is just really resilient because it has a chance to make a top pair decent kicker and put it all in. But this type of stuff is going to struggle against a player who is tight here.
And you're gonna want to wait in those spots, probably having big cards rather than
Yeah,
small cards
against,
anyway.
against somebody tight, I think I might do offsuit tens, suited eights.
Because there are a lot of people who will raise this block for value, these pairs for value, and just none of this. Right? And our ability to generate equity with these hands is relying on an opponent finding this type of stuff. So if you have Poker Tracker 4 and playing on Poker Stars, for example, like I do, I highly look at what a person does in a blind response here. And if they are not finding this, then you are going to be torching if you are playing the bottom of your range here.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like the importance of a hand aggregator, like an online poker tool. You have a really hard time kind of estimating this kind of information if you don't have a tool like that. Like you're just kind of shooting in the dark.
But if you're playing against Nick or Galen or myself, you better bet they're going to find some trashy bluffs.
Mm, hmm.
All right, speaking of trashy bluffs, ace high board, really bad.
Yeah, I would just auto fold this at this point.
Yeah, I already have checked. Like,
There
we're
is
looking
no
at the
business
table.
here.
Yeah, it's no bueno.
All right. Let's go with, all right, first we will actually we will just use this and we'll look at some range interaction here first.
What's this spot gonna be?
We're gonna work through the small blind defending against all the other opens.
Got it.
So we will change this up.
We're gonna start wide or start narrow.
We're gonna start tight and build ourselves to the wider spots because the wider spots are gonna be more complex. So when under the gun opens, under the gun is opening this really tight range. The small blind has a two-part strategy.
Yeah, you
We
don't
are
really have
going to-
many bluffs.
Nope, we are going to be very linear here. We are going to be attacking with our ace king and our ace queen. We're going to be attacking with more suited Broadway hands. And we are going to be attacking with sevens plus. There's a little bit of this stuff, but mostly it is just calling. There's a little bit of this stuff, but mostly it is just calling. The idea, I'm gonna put this out here. And anyone who wants to, why do you think we want to call these hands? The suited aces, the suited kings, the suited connectors, and some small pairs.
Range connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Board coverage.
No.
He's not opening offsuit tens. Or anything below offsuit tens.
I'm hearing a lot of good answers. The other thing is when we call, the big blind is offered a choice, and the big blind comes in with all of this stuff and all of this stuff. And our range of having some suited aces, some suited kings, some suited connectors, and some pairs are hands that are going to be able to make straights and flushes, and our flushes are going to be largely better than the big blinds. And we have a chance to double up or triple up with an ace or a king flush card. And we still do have a chance to make a strong enough top pair to get it all in with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's smart.
Yep.
Against a person who has a chance to get it in with a much weaker top pair or with a much weaker flush. And so the small blind, even though we are very linear in our construction, our traps come from trying not to trap the under the gun player, but try and trap the big blind. Hard to think about that way, but yeah, that's what this is. So again, sevens plus, suited Broadways are primarily our value. that is really not going to change. It's just going to expand as we go through the different ranges. One under the gun folds and under the gun one comes in. His range is slightly bigger. Our response, the stuff that we call really stays the same. The stuff that we raise, sevens plus. And now we can see ace jack starts to come in more. It just decides to run its equity. But really, if we're looking at this block of hands, all the suited broadways are okay to come in.
Mhm.
And we're going to continue to look at that as we go down the line. Low jack's going to open. We are going to become more resilient with these pairs.
Now we
as
got
our
some
opponent
nines.
starts to open lower and lower pairs. These ones
Mhm.
want to start jamming more. Now every suited Broadway is in here at full frequency. Our jack is in here. It starts to find ace 10. Ace 10 suited, starting to find some nines. So just kind of imagine this range slowly expanding. King queen starts to come in. We'll hijack when they open. Response. We are now here full frequency with all pairs. We still have the exact same calling range. A few more sporadic bluffs as our opponent's ace range starts to become weaker and their non-ace hands start to expand. Our ace is just ahead here too often. Ace 10 is now in at full frequency, right? Again,
No, also with the hijack, that's the first time where king 10 is full frequency and queen 10 is in range. It was jacks, king jack, queen jack before.
all of our range starts to expand here. When they fold. These guys, oops, cut off as a raise. Small blind strategy. Against the cutoff. So the cutoff and the button, these guys are really incentivized to try and steal. Right? There is the big blind in there, there's our half small blind in there, there's the ante in there. So, you know, they're looking at like 2.3, 2.4, 2.2 chips for 2 chips, right? Like they're able to increase their stack size like 10, 15% with just a small risk. So their strategy is going to be pretty wide. And so we are attacking here with a lot of our aces, right? Almost all our suited aces and half of our offsuit aces. All pairs, all suited broadways, and some more connected nines here. King queen's in here. King jack starts to come in as well. Jack 10 is starting to sniff it in a little bit here. And you can imagine what's coming up against the button. It's going to be pretty savage. So when the button raises it up, the small blind strategy, is 22% raise, right? And so one of the tools that we looked at today with that pre-flop construction is, are we being aggressive enough in this spot, right? And the idea is equity denial. Right? When we raise this 22%, big blind folds, and it's back to the button. The button is, why is it folding? Why is it not going to the button? Oh, because we folded. When we stuff, and the big blind folds, the button has to call 40% of their range against us. And that looks like pocket fives. All the way up here. All the way to ace 7. You know, and are you seeing your opponent's call off with queen 10, king 10, ace 5, ace 7? Like, they are not going to call this wide, and you are going to generate a ton of fold equity here. And all of your hands that you are jamming are also in this frequency. And so it is going to be, when you get called, a flip spot a lot, where they're going to have a very comparable hand to what you're jamming. But you are just going to generate a ton of fold equity here. And if the player is not calling off wide enough with finding some ace-7, ace-8, ace-6 suited, queen 10, queen jack, king 10, king jack, you are going to print chips as a particularly aggressive spot in this small blind.
Mm-hmm.
I
So-
agree, but the flip side of that is they also have to be opening wide enough too.
True.
If their range is tighter in general, they're gonna have an easier time defending against jams.
True, but we're still going to be like our jam range is still all the pairs, all the aces.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's still going to be pretty high equity against their range,
yeah, I agree.
right? Like
Yeah,
pocket nines versus king jack, like it's not going to matter very much there, right?
What-
You're-
what I do sometimes, like if the buttons has a tight opening range, I look like against a cutoff chart.
Absolutely. Look, one of the reasons why we kind of looked and we went through all of this is if you know that old man coffee is over there and he's in the cutoff, but he's playing an under the gun range, just play him like he's under the gun. Don't recognize him as the cutoff guy, right? And try and like, be creative against him.
Yeah,
If he's tight, you know how to play against a tight opponent. You understand that range construction's there. Meanwhile, if you see a guy who's on his fifth gin and tonic and he's sloshed the table opening any two, don't play him like he's under the gun. That guy's the button, right? And it is time to get after that guy. And when you kind of understand how ranges interact, then you can adjust that to player type. And that's one of the biggest pet peeves I have is people ask, well, why would you study GTO? Right? When you don't know how an opponent is going to play. Well, once you know how an opponent's going to play, GTO helps you play better against that opponent, regardless of where they are. All
It
right,
also,
sorry.
it helps you optimally adapt to like their shortcomings. Like you're kind of just shooting in the dark, like if you don't understand the ebb and flow of the game like this, like how are you going to exploitatively tweak your game to maximally like get the most out of a situation if you haven't studied how the solver does some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, you need the framework. You need to understand the ground levels to know which way to lean.
Yeah,
Yep.
it doesn't go exploitative game, then GTO. Like you need GTO to play an exploitative game.
Yep. That's really what
Uh,
GTO is robots exploiting the shit out of each other.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so I think I've set this up reasonably well here. King, queen, cut off. Is this wide enough to stuff?
I think it is. I know I lack some of these. I do a lot of flatting with this
I
combo
would
still.
call, I think.
Full frequency jam.
It's
Yeah,
probably a
offsuit.
full,
Yeah, offsuit, big offsuit Broadway is like,
yeah, it's probably a full frequency jam from the cutoff. As
And-
you move around the horn, it's gonna start favoring calls pretty heavily.
Absolutely, but this one, it's when you're against the cutoff of the button, it's time for some disrespect, right? Like all your suited stuff here, all of this block of hands here. One of the big advantage is just equity denial, right? When you say, put all your chips in if you want to gamble this hand, right? When an opponent looks down and they see, that they opened with king 8, with queen 10, with king 10 off, are they really going to want to do it? No, they are not. And yeah, the more fold equity you have with this hand, the better it does.
yeah, it in game. Some of the stuff that you flip against just folds,
Mhm.
right? Like,
And
You're
you
not-
pulled an ace eight.
yeah. But yeah, but in game, people will fold 6s and 5s and 4s here when
Absolutely.
they're not supposed to.
Well, first of all,
So,
should they be jamming some of this? Well, he was the cutoff.
I don't know if they,
What?
you think they fold fours to your jam? I mean,
Live. I play way more live. Like
fives
online
and
is a whole different
sixes?
world.
Yeah, for
Hmm?
sure.
I'm
Yeah,
actually, yeah,
maybe
you,
on.
especially if you're me, if you're a woman, you get credit even more. Or
Mhm.
because people don't think, oh, this person just jammed on my
female
jam.
equity.
I
They-
have
they
the
don't-
opposite problem and it sucks because I like to play so aggressive and I can't because of how I look.
Yeah, no, but sometimes you do get called live with the weirdest stuff. So it all depends on knowing your opponent.
There might be slivers of call in this, but I think it's a high frequency fold.
I
I
agree
think
with
this
Just
is a
comb your hair
fold.
and wear a sweater.
Yeah,
Wear a
this is a
suit.
fold. So we're gonna look at like maybe king 10 as the bottom of the floor that's gonna call here. King queen and
Yeah,
king
I'm-
jack are gonna have some
I'm calling king
jams.
10. I thought this
Calling
might be the
king
one
10.
offsuit 9 that calls other than ace 9. I guess
Are you-
no ace 9 jams.
I like jamming these suited wheels versus steals.
Yeah,
Here's
this is a prime jam, yep. Now this is what I
And
meant
this
by
may
we're going
call.
all in a
Actually,
lot.
this may do the worst ones may do a little bit of calling.
No, I think the worst
Uh,
ones go all in more.
So if I had to guess, it's going to want to call maybe some of more of the middling ones.
Yeah, like ace 8.
I
Eights, ace
think it does
seven.
it because those are the ones that are more likely to be dominated when they
Okay.
call.
Let's
Would you ever
explore the spot. here.
exploitively? Well, I guess you don't non-all in 3-bet ever, so you always.
So I'm
Does
gonna
mix.
guess
What?
ace 2 and ace 3 are gonna call a little more and maybe
What about
ace-
hurts the button?
the button, we're just
First-
gonna jam. call.
Okay,
every ace
so
jams
the
for button.
button call.
And I think that's a function of the button having more,
Slightly-
just more
slightly
trash in their
wider-
range that we
slightly
just
wider
get
range.
to fold like immediately. Whereas
Yeah.
the cutoff, it's a difference between like a whatever, like
Yeah.
a significantly wider range.
Yeah, so we wanna have a few aces post flop here. So these ones are reasonable.
And we
Right,
also
so it
have
has-
no other twos or threes other than the aces.
So here, there is a bit of
Not too
board coverage.
different. Ace 4, I always jam. So ace 3 is like an ace deuce, you're not.
I think
guess
it
it's
also could be a function
You
of the
have an
fact that the cutoff,
overcard.
oh, and it's also a function of the cutoff. The cutoff doesn't jam ace 4, ace 3, or ace 2 off, but the button jams all of those hands.
So the
Or
cutoff doesn't have
raises
a
all of his
jamming
hands.
range.
I mean, no, not jam, I mean, but the cutoff will like will never raise ace 4, ace 3, or ace 2 off, but the button has ace 4 and ace 3 off.
Oh, so here we get a
So we
really
check
good.
call down, right?
We have an ace where we don't normally have a lot of aces.
Right, so we don't
And
get to
our
raise,
opponent-
right?
And our opponents has a ton of aces.
Yeah, we don't have any 2 pairs, trips. We're not gonna have a check raise range.
It's like one of our only aces.
Yeah, it's 20 big ones, so we don't need to be raising, we can just call down.
Particularly the hearts probably want to call, right? Ace with the clubs and the diamonds, maybe you're more incentivized to raise here, but
Wait,
Nice.
what do you raise here?
I don't know if you're gonna raise very much, right? On
If-
an ace high board.
Yeah.
where
It would be,
Are always at a disadvantage. You're probably gonna
I
raise
have-
your best ace, so maybe like when
I-
you have ace 9
This is our
offsuit.
best ace.
I have a
No.
0% raise here.
No, we have the ace 7.
Oh,
maybe
Yeah.
20%, wow.
Yeah, we have
Aces.
ace 9 and ace 8, so these are the ones that raise. Oh, ace, I guess, these are all 2 pairs as well. It's funny, most of the aces that we flatted made 2 pair.
Wow, that's wild.
But yeah, ace
So-
8, still.
Yes, we have the gutters that are raising here as a bluff, so we have some value too. But not a very prominent raise strategy.
Hmm.
A little bit of leading when the flush completes. Flush completes is usually good for the caller. as opposed to the razor, because we defend more suited stuff. He's still here with offsuit stuff. But the turn goes check, check. Time for us to get some value. 7? 5?
Going
Mm,
5.
I like 5.
I like 3.
Yeah, I
maybe?
think
Okay.
7's too high. I feel.
I think 7's okay too.
I could
I'm
be
going 5 or
persuaded.
7.
I could be persuaded.
It's gonna be 5+. Nope,
Oh,
3.
3.
3.
So I guess he has some aces that are going to shut down here on the turn.
I guess.
Eggs.
well, I
Yeah.
guess it's like, what are we trying to
Yeah,
get called by,
what,
right?
what happens is the bigger you bet, the more nines start to fold.
Yeah,
Like when you bet small, you keep all of the nines in, and when you bet,
Also, once any draw hits, like the flush, you don't. If you don't have the flush, you don't wanna go too large. It's just, this is gonna be a multiple bet, river where our biggest bets are gonna come from our flushes. And then as we go down in value, the bets are gonna generally get smaller.
what are we
So-
bluffing, 1 spade hands?
Yeah, king 10 and
Yeah.
queen 10 with, so the missed flush draws, straight draw combos.
8, 7, 7, 6.
8-7, the missed straight draw, particularly with rate of value with the spades, and then 5-4 is gonna be the same thing. Right, takes our worst hand with a pair and just bluffs it.
It's interesting to me, ace 2 is sizing up and ace 3 isn't ever. I guess he has some like 3x in range.
Well,
No,
ace
ace
two is
two
his
two
two is
pair.
two pair.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Yeah,
king
explain.
5 suited? Is that a value bet? I guess so.
King 5 suited, it's a bluff.
It's turning bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, turning fives into bluffs. 'Cause we
Except
don't
6-5,
ha-
which is interesting. Oh, does it bluff 6-5?
Yeah,
Okay,
3, 5, 4.
All the 6-5, all bluffs, all sizes. Yeah, it just needs to find some bluffs, and so it chooses these ones.
I mean, like, look at our range. It's like, there's like very few
Yeah.
hands that don't have a pair.
All right, low jack, tighter range construction. Wow. Not all in or all in?
Wow.
Yeah. Still jammy at 20, right?
Usually it's
Good.
aces and queens go small and kings jam for whatever reason. That I've
I-
seen.
I think it's the opposite. I think aces, I think the only non-all-ins here would be aces and maybe a slivers of other stuff.
Here,
Well,
Jake.
let's explore this
Nah.
one and find out.
I think aces is mostly a call.
Yeah, it's mostly a
That's
call,
true,
but
you
when
could
it, but
call
when it,
aces
but when
too.
it raises in a lot of these configurations,
I think out of
it's the only
position,
one that raises all in at any, in all of these configurations at any frequency.
out of position, I think aces raise a lot too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here-
doesn't,
So mostly call.
it has a lot more calls than I thought.
Yep.
I thought it would have been flipped, mostly
doesn't.
raise and little calls.
Yeah, if we look at aces, like the difference between raising and calling is non-existent. They both realize the same amount of equity. You actually lose equity when you jam aces here because you don't get called often enough. And
It's
aces are
also-
gonna be just super resilient to whatever flops.
And it also gets hard to kind of balance this not all in sizing at a position at 20. Like if you look at it, the rest of the range just doesn't really want to do that. So like it starts sliding into the call range, so you're not so transparent with the nuts, you know?
Yeah, I would just think in practice, you just don't have it, need to have it all in. Is there, I guess, is there a rational reason to have an all in size when it's doing that little, not all in size, I mean?
I mean, you definitely can, and like the later in tournaments, I think the more EV there is doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Me
Maybe
personally,
he
I
was
just.
thinking like final table stuff. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Galen.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say like, I
Um,
love flatting aces. I get, I just,
Limping kings and flatting aces, this guy.
that's me,
Yeah.
man.
Ace nine, is it a
So
stuff?
I do stuff this one in game,
Every ace except maybe ace two off, but I still jam that.
especially from versus the button.
Yeah, I think it's gonna miss like ace six. Right? Or ace five, one of those ones, but. Yeah, all your suited aces are just gonna have a party here. Or your offsuit aces, sorry. Most of your suited aces as well. Again, stuff for RP,
Stuff.
little bit of call.
Oh,
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
gross.
that
Internet
is a
hand.
gr-
Oh, hijack.
I
This
play
is-
call here.
Yeah, this is another one of those spots where the suited aces call.
You can't fold it, Pete. It's suited
Okay.
ace.
I'm folding in game.
Okay. Very close. Let's take a look at the general construction here. Mind us against the hijack. We are in here with all these aces and king five, king six, king seven, king eight, suited eight, suited nines. All these ones along the pair axis down to 5-4. Spicy. All right, well. We have called, we have a terrible hand. For this flop. But it goes check, check.
Oh no, I have to bluff my stack off. Come on.
I'm not gonna do it, man. I'm just
Did they
gonna,
sign?
I am definitely stabbing here. Even though we have ace high, this board connects so well with our flatting range that we're kind of at the bottom of our range with this hand. Like what
It-
other hands do we have that aren't paired?
I mean, you're right. Like, we have two pair, we have straights, we have like, we have a ton of stuff here. My only concern is hijack connects. I equally as well, almost as well, like they. Although he doesn't have a lot of this stuff because he does check back the flop, right? So,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe a stab's good. I check though.
It is checking.
Never. Been.
Let's
Where
take a
our
look at,
bluffs coming from?
let's take a look at how the range
King
changes when the
eight
flop
suited.
goes check. here.
King seven suited,
King seven of spades. King.
but that's not a
six-
lot. We need more.
I'm
You're,
We
s-
have
you're,
so much
you're
value. here.
gonna,
Queen
you're gonna
seven
pull
of
from
spades.
your, I
Maybe
imagine you
some
pull from your,
nine necks.
your single hearts too, I think will be in there.
What single
Here-
hearts do we have
But
that
what
aren't a
single?
pair?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you're
here's
gonna have like
the
some
Ace
mixing
eight
aces.
off.
Maybe.
Equity line on the flop with our opponent just well ahead of us. But
Mhm.
after it goes check, check. Our ranges, our opponent is still ahead at the bottom. But throughout most of the rest, it's pretty touch and go.
Yeah, I mean, equities are close, to be honest. They run very close.
So we
So,
see our turn strategy.
yep, sure.
I thought I saw a ton of checking, and I'm not checking here a lot.
70%.
70%
That's
checking still.
Wild to me.
And it's very polar is why.
That's why, yeah, I was gonna, yeah, it's just,
Oh yeah, I was betting like 4 with ace 2 suited here, and then
Yeah,
jamming
it's-
the river.
It's because equity completed and it's locked up now. So
Hmm.
you're like all of your marginal made hands are can be way behind here. So your marginal made hands want to check a lot.
What
Right.
is he doing with queen king on the flop? Is he pure checking it?
Our opponents,
Yeah.
ace eight off looks like a pretty good bluff here.
king queen is primarily betting. The suited ones check. more.
Okay.
So he has some that check, but most of them aren't here.
Checking a lot of ace X.
He has a bit of queen eight. And 8-7. He has a lot of 8-7.
And I think any interaction with, yeah, any interaction with like 8-7, it likes any interaction with queen. Queen 8, it
Oh
like,
my
well, I
goodness.
guess, you know, any interaction with the straights, it likes.
Alright. So. In the completed equity board. We get here with ace high. Wow. Is this our worst hand?
Yeah.
This is pretty bad. I just don't know if you get to bluff it though. Like, what's he gonna fold? That we
Do
don't
we-
already
Uh,
beat. That we don't already beat.
Better ace
Better ace
highs,
highs. That was
10,
my thought.
I
7.
mean, it's just that we just don't have much
Jack
else. We have like 5-4.
I mean,
So like we chop with all the better ace highs, but. And that we don't lose to.
what worse
So,
hands do we have?
5-4 suited.
They probably would have bluffed turn.
6-7 maybe.
Like, I think
not
I'm ripping
much.
here a lot.
Yeah, it bets. It definitely bets.
And it's very thin, but it bets primarily the slightly larger small size. My idea was just to, target the auto folds and maybe start folding under pairs here if he has pocket sevens.
Are we just like range betting 2.5 here?
And
Probably.
if you look at what it folds to that sizing, it's literally 7s and 5s.
Nice.
And a few ace and a few better suited ace and a few ace X.
Yeah, so we have no jamming range, even with our king X.
Our kings, because we have so many kings that we
2.5.
get here with, we just get to bluff all the trash that we don't have anything with. Right? Because we're so protected by having so many kings. And they all bet that small size too. Like there
Get
we
a
go.
better hand to fold.
What a
Pockets.
bluff. Let's go.
Next time. Alright. Okay, early seat,
Hey,
early
Sorry,
seat.
Pete. Could we take a close look at the opponent's range, like what they're supposed to fold there?
For sure. When we bet one big blind. That was the action we took.
Like calling all Jack X and 10X.
Is this the one we looked at? No, it wasn't.
No. It's not.
Oh, this one. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I picked up the wrong hand there, Reiner. When we bet our one big blind on the river. What is our opponent's strategy? He folds only 15% of hands. He folds or bluffs some aces, which are all beating us, and he folds or bluffs some pairs, which are all beating us. But either
Yeah.
way,
About
to
where-
our one chip size, we don't really care.
But at 2.5, you'll notice that a lot of that stuff stops bluffing and starts folding pure.
Against our slightly bigger size, it all folds pure. So it's a much more efficient bet to go with the slightly bigger size here.
Usually on a connected board like this, you don't bet one big blind.
I
You
love that
usually-
ace queen pure folds because you're blocking the bluffs
But-
from ace high.
But you can't have blocker bets and they can bet
Yeah.
small.
Well, that's, and again, I know I'm new here, but that's what I found a little confusing about this particular hand in this line, that we're blocking a lot of his aces and we're unblocking like the rest of the deck that this guy can have, which beats us, that calls a lot, except like 10-7 suited, and then a few of the aces which we're tied with.
Well,
Mhm.
it's a function of our range to where we don't really have a lot of bluffs to pull from. So like ideally we wouldn't want an ace to bluff because that's what we're getting to fold.
Yeah,
But it's just our range is so narrow that pretty much everything is better than our ace high. It's so hard for us not to have a pair here.
Right,
So we're gonna be betting those.
okay.
And
that's-
then like king X.
Yeah, and Nick, you'd said earlier, like, we're at the bottom of our range with this hand on the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can see ace 4, ace 6, ace 8, ace 9, ace 10. These all check, right? I mean, even pocket aces check here. So you just have so many marginal made hands that want to show down, but you have all these value hands, which are your kings. And to be honest, all these value hands, which are eights, and
Yeah.
because you have so many values, you have to find some bluffs to go along correspondingly. And it just starts at the bottom, right? And so it picks your 5-4, your 6-5, your 7-6, your 8-6. And
8-6 is a straight.
or sorry, 8-6 is a straight, and then error like, yeah, 7-6, 6-5, 5-4, and then it still needs to find more bluffs, and so it just goes to the next worst hand, which is ace deuce. So just kind of going up the ladder.
Right on, thank you.
No problems. Is this a call or fold?
Man,
it
I
makes
call
a
this, I call this if we're a little deeper. I don't know at 20 though. I think I might
Call,
fold.
it's like really close. I think this is a king jack calls and I think king 10 folds, king 10 off folds.
I mean, at first under the gun one, I think we can fold. I think we will have to call versus hijack and later.
No, I think it's mostly a call. I think there's slivers to fold.
Okay, so let me flip the
Wouldn't it
question.
be a better to call it 20 than deeper?
Mm,
Or
Are
you
you
I'm
three
folding
bet
deeper.
deeper?
I'm
Are you
folding deeper.
opening queen jack off or king jack off from under the gun one?
yeah, you do.
Okay, so then it's probably a call,
Yep.
right? So this range is gonna mimic the bottom of this in the offsuit side,
Smart.
right? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the hook. You're for at least one street here.
Fish on
That's
the
a no.
line, fish on the line. Oh, we're getting dragged around. Look how low EV is.
Yeah, it's just. Oh, and you get this, you get the most blank card in the deck on the turn, so double barrel. And you're
Oh, he's
probably,
small bets us.
Oh, this
She
sucks,
gone.
dude. This is. I mean,
you're probably
it might
supposed to
still
call.
call. Yeah.
It's gonna call. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
starting to find it.
The problem is we don't have a lot of ace X and there's no like draws to continue with, so we have to defend with our second pair still.
Mm-hmm. And check folds now.
I mean, he's like jamming all worse hands too. We're just getting blasted off this.
Thank
Oh,
goodness
man,
we escape.
he double barreled us with a king, queen.
Only
Yeah.
lasts 40% of our stack.
You folded this.
Yeah.
So because it was only like 0.02 EV on the floor, like, is that, it feels like this is another one of those cash game versus tournament situations where, like, I know it's plus EV, but like 0.02. Like, we can still respect ourselves, look ourselves in the mirror if we check fold flop there, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well,
Well,
if-
so
if you're gonna check fold flop, like why did you call pre-flop?
I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's correct.
yeah, check,
That's-
yeah, calling flop is fine. Calling
Yeah.
turn gets, I mean, if you wanted to argue folding turn on a brick when he doubles.
Simple answer is yes,
Against most of the population, like I would be like. Opposed
you
to it.
can fold flop, but I think even in I think it's gonna be more plus EV. Like, can you go back to his flop strategy, Peter?
Sure.
'Cause it should just be a range bet small, I assume. So population is gonna find that, but then they're not gonna properly bluff turn and river. So it's, in my opinion, it's more plus EV than a solver because people aren't gonna double barrel, triple barrel bluff enough. They're
Yeah,
gonna put one barrel in and then just like check it down.
yeah, which is why I'm saying you always have to call flop, but if they double, you could probably overfold that spot.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
So
100%.
when you call the flop, 32% of the time he shuts down on the turn. Right? And it's
It's all,
protected
man.
by sets of aces and some weak aces.
And
bunch of-
it was mixing, but that's when your opponent pure bets 10-8 suited, 8-9 suited, 10-9 suited, queen 10 suited, king 7 suited. All that stuff has to pure bet for our hand to become of slightly winning play. Otherwise, it's even more winning.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it just, most of the population just doesn't bet those at that kind of frequency.
As a GTO player, if you are under the gun one and you have an ace king board and you get a 4 of clubs that brings no draws, really no equity, right? No improvement to the small blinds range, you're just barreling a lot. You've got to know that you're just gonna have to bet a lot here. And it's a big bet spot here, right? You're betting a third of your range, very polar. So this is why, you know, we kind of study this spot and recognize, hey, this is a spot where you're sizing up, you're betting big, and you're betting with a huge part of your range. So, yeah, under the gun, well, folded. All right, 8-7 suited.
I feel like you can fold here.
No.
I'm calling.
I'm calling or folding.
This
Oh,
isn't the
absolutely
final
showed
table of the $1,000 special DJM late night tournament. Mr. Vincent. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us
Practice
today.
it.
Nick.
He
With
practiced
Woodley.
knitting it up at his
This is
1K
the-
table, and now he's
yeah.
gonna come in here with all that nonsense.
This is a
Excuse
pure
me?
call, but 7-6 is probably a fold.
Yeah, I think that's probably smart.
Rain jams here.
I am not jamming this combo. I'm just gonna want more
Ugh,
blocker.
Yes, but 9-8 might. So this is one of those weird things where some of the middle connected cards want to shove.
Right. My fingers getting itchy.
But I don't think that this is one of those hands.
Is this
Alright.
chip EV?
Chip EV.
Yeah.
Then it's a
Level
call.
4 of the tournament. Okay, just a call.
Yeah, see folds in there too.
Shut up, fish.
I came second in the 525.
No,
Did you?
I did.
No. Was that tonight?
Yeah,
That's so
He did
funny.
the same
Did
thi-
you,
he
did you,
did-
did you register the last level again?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
registered in the last 10 seconds.
Oh, sweet.
It's so
They're
funny.
leading here. Interesting spot.
Wow.
So-
Is it
Oh,
because
there
we
is-
have so many queens, like queens, jacks, and tens?
Yeah,
Have a
I
lot
think
of
I think
middling
it
stuff.
really is a function of how I'd like to see range interaction. Because I
Yeah, I
actually
get it.
think that we might actually have a slight if we don't have an equity advantage, it's probably very, very close.
So
Yeah.
we have some queens. Not a ton. 14% of our range is represented by queens or over pairs. So we have the aces here that flat. We have 2 pair here, 5%. So I mean, if you look at it, 25% of our range is top pair or better.
Yeah,
Then 8% is second pair, which is also pretty strong here still. So nearly a third of our range is second pair or better.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and-
what I'm thinking as well. Like,
Yeah,
if it's a
and
jack
Button's
high
range is
board too.
yeah. And the other thing to note is that Button's range is wide.
Yeah.
So the button
we have-
range just in general just does not have
He
as a
has like
percentage of the
every
range.
ace-X,
They just have a lot of crap. They just have a lot of trash.
every
Yeah,
ace
we're
X
just-
and like all the suited kings that are gonna struggle.
Yeah, our range is just gonna clean up a lot of equity here.
Can I
When
see
it
that
finds-
that range one more time?
Sure.
Who has ace deuce off here?
Never.
Let's
Well,
be
it's too bad to
honest.
jam. I just fold it.
Like who's going to the flop with ace deuce off 100% of the time?
Can you sort
It's
my range? Hank?
sliver. It's slivers. It's actually not like,
So. At, you're going there about 3% of the time, right? So all of these are slivers of aces that aren't jamming.
Is ace two off jam or is it
No,
two off
like,
three?
it probably is gonna raise and
I
let's take a look.
honestly don't know if it jams or folds.
Sure, you can take a peek.
Think fold.
Fold,
Yeah, I'm folding. Okay.
Yeah, but ace three. Oh my god.
well, yeah, you're jamming it here most of the time, and you're calling it a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, right? But really, you're pretty pure jamming this section. But if you want to have flats with aces, you got to have some other aces in your range that have that. So
Yeah, this is kind of what I meant when like we have so many queens here when we just flat because like everything else we're just jamming.
ooh. Are we able to call this backdoor short stacked? Probably not.
No.
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, there we go with primarily a fold.
Yeah, I wanted to click it.
Alright, gents, I
Alright.
gotta take off. It was fun, Peter.
No problem. Thanks for popping in, Galen.
Thanks, Galen.
Take it easy, guys.
As
Alright,
one champion exits, another one enters. Dooley is in the house today. Dooley,
Dooley, what's up, Mr. Ring Holder?
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
congratulations, man.
Appreciate
in
it.
case anyone is unaware, our friend Dooley won a ring last night at like 2 a.m. my time.
Oh, wow, nice.
Dooley, isn't that the tournament you said sometime? You said, I'm just gonna close my eyes and register this tournament.
Yep.
Holy shit.
That's the one. I had sold a lot of my action and then I busted in a very unfortunate way, like an hour into or with an hour left of late reg, and I was just like, screw it, I'm doing
That's so epic. You just,
I'm doing it.
You said, I'm closing my eyes, I'm just gonna reg this one. And you
It
ended-
was a
Wow.
struggle, man. Like I was short stacked the whole final table, and then I was like equi stacked a whole bunch of them, and
Did we review this in the morning study group yet?
Not yet.
oh man, I woke up like at 2 p.m. today.
Good job.
I could not sleep after that. So we're gonna do a hand review for sure, according to Louis. I don't know when though.
And I said you got some GG for sale now.
Only if you're on
Unfortunately,
Ontario.
I can't sell GG. Not even to people in Ontario. It's just they just restricted it.
oh,
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Has GG reached out to you about when you're getting your ring?
No, but I asked one of the dudes that got a ring from the last circuit, and he said you get it like within 2 to 3 weeks.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. Congratulations on a huge score, Dooley, 12K, and the hardware that goes with. And we know that you're reviewing, studying, hardworking, and grinding almost every night, right? So,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
no problem. Welcome to the party.
I would like to take this time to thank the group for giving me the greatest ICM training. Because obviously I am a ICM master. With less than 10 big blind stacks today, I managed to come second in the high roller.
Congratulations, Vincent Lamb. And to be honest, like we look around this field and there are just people who have made tremendous strides in their game. And it is all a reflection of putting in study work and then putting in hours, grinding it at the table and getting better and better every day. And there's really nothing you can do except study, play, repeat. Study, play, repeat. Right?
100%.
Whether
I've
you're
been studying with these guys for 3 years now.
whether you're someone who's newer and is more on the study side of it, where you're looking to study 70% of the time and play 30, or whether, you're a little more further along and you're like, struggling to put in the study time because the game is coming well to you. Either way, it's important to make sure that we do have some semblance of balance in that. Whoops, did I just close GTO Wizard? No. All right, here we go. Next hand, speaking of studying, we'll continue on for a little bit with our royalty in tow. Under the gun range, King 7,
Fold.
just trash. All right.
Jam.
10 suited. Jamalama
Here,
Ding
Jam.
Dong. Hero Jam.
Jamalama.
Micro 3-bets, non all in, but really pretty pure race.
That's so you can 3-bet aces.
Oh, pimpled, but we noodle them. Look at that, so sweet.
Because we knew it was coming. So
Who's
easy.
calling with King Jack versus that jam?
Not enough people. All right.
I'm not.
Find a call. Pretty wide to get in here. I didn't think it was going to call at all.
Yeah, I'm folding.
Yeah, because it doesn't open Jack 10 from that position.
Jam.
Ooh. Ace, queen, stuff, or 3-bets.
Stuff.
Yeah.
This is like the clearest stuff yet in my mind.
Stuffalophagus. Let's go.
And yeah, Nick, I'm also surprised about the king jack call.
Fold.
Eighth, not quite good enough, eh? Not quite good enough. Six, just some trash. Probably
Does this
didn't
suited combo? I guess low jack is like too early position, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna start pulling from some of these suited
King
kings.
6, even versus button, it's a fold in. Maybe it's
No,
Oh,
I think it's a very,
yeah,
it's close. It's probably.
like, yeah,
gonna
the
be-
absolute bottom if it is a call, like the
Yeah,
little bottom.
I think King 7 is usually where you start to pull a lot of your calls against middle position opens, and that's because that's kind of the bottom of the low jack's King X opening range.
I think it's gonna be something like King 5 here, King 6 here, King 8 here, King 9 here, King 10, King Jack.
Wow, that's surprising. They're calling the offsuit kings.
No, those
No,
are
no,
calling
just
them, no,
suited. Just
We're just talking
suited.
about talking
Yeah.
about suited ones.
Okay,
Don't
I'm like, damn.
No.
You're like, wow, I'm a nit.
I'm
no,
never
don't.
fighting that call.
For anyone who's on the recording, do not get splashy with your offsuit kings with a small blind.
I was like, let me
Well,
see.
Peter said to call King 9 off here, so.
Oh no, I'm torching them.
Instructions unclear when all in king deuce.
Instruction is unclear. Okay. So low jack raises. Yeah, King 6 is really the line here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And King 10, King Jack is really the line here. If you get stuck calling with King Queen off here, you can totally blame it on me. I endorse.
If we're
calling with-
orienting around 5% aces EV, it's like all those become so marginal.
Well,
It's
that's
so
why I said
sick
that,
that
King
like
Queen, right? Like that's
Yeah.
5% bases. Sorry, Vince. Yeah.
it's so sick that like the solver's playing with king 6 suited there.
Yeah, savage animal. Eh?
It is even surprising
Yeah.
there.
Because I was wondering, like, I know the solver does like weird stuff like that. So I was like, king 6 suited, it's got to be the bottom.
Yeah,
But it's not the
So-
bottom. King 5 suited is the
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
in a-
not even fighting king 8 suited there, sometimes king 9 suited, yeah.
Yeah, in a spot where you have the ability to earn 20 chips, right? This isn't one chip. This isn't 1/10 of a chip. This is 2/100ths of a chip. So this, is 50.001 type of like EV.
And that's
Right, if
assuming
you
you
wanna
play
think of it as
perfectly post flop.
the
Right.
coin flip element, right? So you're pretty thin on these narrow kings.
yeah, that's so thin. That's like flipping a coin and the coin lands straight up.
It's like you flip a coin and you win when it's tails or when it lands on its edge.
Fold, you never play ops. So there's anything in that kind of that bottom, like left-hand quadrant that isn't like an ace, you generally avoid.
Oh. Ooh,
Your phone.
well, it's not giving us.
It
the
doesn't
option.
even give you the option.
Can we limp?
Can we live?
It's like, don't make no mistakes.
The machine doesn't give you the option to small 3-bet.
Doesn't even give you the option to small 3-bet.
You don't have a small 3-bet range versus that later position.
No.
Fold
Offsuit
this
king.
one.
Fold. All right.
Oh,
let's,
king 7 suited though, I want my 0.04%.
Stop.
I'm folding.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
just bored? Are you bored of folding? You know, sometimes you just gotta fold and observe and chill.
There we go. Okay, we got
Welcome
our
to
king
poker.
5 and
Not during training.
No,
luck.
I wanna learn to fold.
it's gonna be tight.
Just play cash games, Viv. That's all it is.
Raise. Oh
Ooh.
yeah, I listened to the Thinking Poker, the new Thinking Poker podcast. He was like, yo, I played cash games and only played jacks plus an ace king.
think
Is
I'm
this too
calling
wide
it.
against under the
That's
gun?
a bit, I think this is a pure shove, I'm pretty
I
sure.
think it mixes jams and calls.
Versus under the gun.
I don't
Yeah.
think you jam versus you can call. I think
Yeah,
you can have to
Mostly
call.
call.
I
Probably
want to
king
call.
jack
I
suited would
really think
jam.
that, yeah,
I love how like 5 different experienced semi-professional poker players play this hand differently here. Let's
I
go.
said
Let's
call.
go. Stop the turkey.
Definitely.
and this is one of the things that I've noticed in studying a lot of these spots is that the queen jack, king jack, you start to see a lot of king jack, queen jack, king 10.
Oh, I guess versus
Love to pile here. They just love it.
Oh yeah,
All-
because you can fold better
Yeah.
of the jacks
You-
and better
Yep.
queens.
You
Because they're
you have
gonna-
removal against some of the auto. You block some of the auto calls and you fold out better hands.
Yep.
And you'll see that in 3-bet, 4-bet spots too. Like you sometimes will pull 3-bet, like 3-bet and 4-bet bluffs from this exact.
And
We're
game.
dominated. I hate poker.
All right. I apologize.
All in.
Versus the low jack.
ooh,
I'm
Yeah,
still
This is a
in.
pure
Wait,
jam versus
no.
every position.
Yeah.
very clear.
What about against the big blind?
So interesting. This was the first part of tonight, but we looked at small blind versus big blind. And
I'm pretty sure tens are limp jamming.
limp jamming and some raising. Right, but the non all in raise, of course. All right,
Fold.
10.
I think we're
Low
one
jack
calls,
too
right?
low.
Hijack
I-
calls.
Does
This
queen 10 fit in the
fold.
low jack's open range? I think this is a fold,
It's
actually.
the fold and the hijack it starts to call.
I think there's slivers of calls, but mostly a fold.
Fold.
Livers, but primarily a fold.
Professor
so-
Dick is right again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's because the low jack doesn't open queen 10 off here at all. And
I think
generally,
this is,
it comes back to what Peter was talking about, where you kind of want
Maybe
the bottom of your calling range to mimic the bottom of the opening
he-
range.
He probably opens this 15% of the time, and so we call it 26% of the time because we're slightly incentivized by the fact that we have half a chip in here. Right? So
Yeah, I think it's important to note that like these spots that are mixing is the spots that you should kind of look at the stats of your opponent and then like make a decision accordingly. It's not, you don't like mix, you shouldn't mix with like a randomizer. Realistically, I think like
Yeah,
if you just look at their stats and say like, oh, this guy's opening really wide, I'm just gonna flat here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and especially when you're playing live, like which I play mostly, like you have to take a lot of this with a grain of salt.
Mm.
They're very different games.
Yes.
Uh-oh. He said it's clean. Let's
We
go.
got him.
42 bigs.
Hell.
So one of the things that you'll notice here, when we get to this spot in a tournament, it's not going to blind down from 20 big blinds to 8 big blinds. You are going to get opportunities to put your chips in here. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first started, is I would get here and I would not take thin spots like this. Be like, oh, how are fours gonna do? This guy's just gonna have an overpair too often. And I was too nitty, and I'd be like, well, I have 24 big blinds. Maybe I can set mine. I'm in for half a
Nah,
blind.
this is how you pick up all the chips.
This
You-
was
Plus,
type
I
of- this was a type of hand
even
and a
on
type
mine.
of spot that I was just too nitty and too
Maybe
tight.
by nature.
Yeah. So now I just go bust more often. And now I have 42 big blinds more often and can play much more dangerously.
Yeah, I think Viv
It's-
said it yesterday. You have to win to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like just win.
It's how you, like, in the middle stages of the
That's
tournament, how you
what-
could just punish people,
what I'm
because a
saying,
lot of
that's
people
what
will
a
just not
different-
take those spots.
A different coach says it's basically
What's it
because you
called?
have to embrace the variance of poker.
Yeah.
So that you are gonna win your tournaments where you win your, like, you know, your critical hands.
Yeah.
And
don't
if you
think
don't
we
win
have
your
leads.
critical
We
hands,
do
you're
have
gonna get
some.
11, and sometimes you're gonna get 11.
Gotta be willing to die to win the tournament, you know?
Yeah,
I don't think
think
we
it's
lead
probably
on
a-
king high that often.
We
Like
had slivers, but yeah, I don't think it's
Especially
gonna be a
if you're
prominent part of
playing-
the strategy.
in Chippy V, it's not good to be nitty.
I think
and
queen
just
and 10
really-
high is our most highest leading boards.
I agree with that.
We just happen to find the one hand that really wants to do it.
And
I
even
mean, I
then, it
wouldn't
doesn't
call that
really
really
do that.
wants to do it.
5% of the time.
Yeah, it's like, it's actually like higher, slightly higher EV to
Ooh,
check
he
than
bets
that.
large. I was
Ooh.
gonna check raise, now I'm just calling.
Now I'm calling as well.
55% equity.
Yeah, it's probably a call.
What's the
Yeah,
reason for calling as opposed to raising here?
because
Does
when
he-
he bets low jack, he's polarizing his range now to kids that are
If he had
potentially
bet
better than king
smaller,
10.
I'm raising, but now that he's polarizing, I'm just gonna defend my range by calling.
And keep his bluffs in.
Right.
Well, it keeps his bluffs in and it allows me to protect my range whenever I have a weaker hand than this. Like if I have 9x
Excellent.
wants to, I'm not just turning all my king X straight up.
I think also it's good to note that he does not have a lot of weaker kings here.
Night Reiner.
No, he has like a king 6 suited, right? Like,
At
yeah.
20 bigs, I don't even know if he wants to open king 6.
Kings, yeah, it's maybe king 7.
Yeah,
King,
so
well,
like
your
king 7's
king
a two
8.
pair. King 8
eight.
is like the only lesser king that he has.
Yeah,
So-
exactly, right. So we're at the bottom, really at the bottom of it.
So can we, oh, look at him give us this tiny little bet. Can we
well-
fold the top pair for 4 chips?
I don't think so
25%
because we
flop?
picked up equity with a jack. Like we can still hit a queen here. A
I'm
king.
never folding top pair.
Yeah, do we win 17%?
I was gonna say, is it good enough to jam though, like with the redraw?
Yep, close.
I mean, are we, yeah, are we at it just at a spot with this SPR where it's kind of like whatever at this point
I don't even think
with your top
it's like
pairs?
I don't think we're rejamming with a redraw. I think it's because like the jack uniquely number one is in our like hits our range exactly. And then also we have a 10, which blocks queen 10 for his like snap.
Yeah,
So-
no, I think this is also just a spot where we're at the bottom of the top of our range. That makes sense.
So let's take a look and see if there's any difference. Like, do we generate folds from hands that have equity against us if we shove here? Right? So he bets, and we were gonna call a lot. If we shove, Does he
We might-
hold some stuff that we're beating or that has equity against us?
No. No is the answer.
We folds these aces that could hit an ace on the river.
I want to point out that he's calling with 10-8 suited.
It's a straight, it's a straight, my friend.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I
the
was
jack
looking
got
just
there.
at the flop.
That is odd.
Jack
Like,
10 off is in there.
so it's kind of a weird value. It's like a merge almost.
I think we're
I think it's a
probably like
function of the
denying
SPR.
equity. Yeah,
It's like the
SPR and
so
denying
shallow,
equity.
just, yeah.
So
I was
I think
thinking
the-
we could get called by worse, but it's just Jack 10 really.
yeah, interestingly, shoving protects us from him hitting an ace or him hitting a set. But there's also a chance that he's gonna triple off here with some of these hands that we fold out.
So effectively, you're cashing out what little equity you have left by jamming, basically.
Yeah, and torching against everything that beats us.
Right.
In case he just checks down river with king jack with, I don't even know what he's gonna check river with, king queen.
I think I prefer to just call the turn and then evaluate the river.
Yeah, I would not be finding the jam here.
Like now, I'm just ripping it in.
So do we lead
No, no.
100%
we-
check?
Do
Ready
we have
check.
roulette? Okay.
And he is aces.
Can I see the can I see his action when we rip it?
Before we get up any donk rip, the king is bad for our range.
Well, the king's really good for his range, but we called 2 barrels. We have some kings here now too, right?
I feel like the king's kind of neutral.
Big calls with aces.
But I still
If
agree
we
we don't
donk.
get to donk.
I mean, he's just mixing with aces.
Oh,
It's a negative call and he's still doing it.
Yeah. So, when we check,
Do we ever get called by worse? This is the same range.
well, this is his range when we check. Right, so this is what he bets.
Point of checking is letting him bluff.
So we keep in, what do we keep in?
Yeah, because there are no worse hands at this point, right?
Yeah,
Well, he's
he's,
bluffing queen 8 here. And some trashy aces. And all these under pairs. And the sets. Right, he's taking 8s to show down. So he
Is
has
the
some
solver
bluffs
donking?
here.
I missed it.
Yeah,
Are we donking at all in theory?
we're not.
no,
Like,
there
Okay.
is no donks.
We're 100%
okay.
checking.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
And he has one of the very few combos where we could extract some value.
That's what I was trying to do, obviously.
Had the read.
Had the sole read on the solver.
Yeah, and also king 8 suited, excuse me.
Ghost in the machine.
That's something
good for
like
that.
in live poker you might be able to get away with. If you do have some kind of read.
Give a guy an eye across the table and make a live read and just open rip into him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had like a read pre-flop, if it's some amateur that. It's kinda obvious they have something good I don't know.
I've actually been
Probably not.
I've been small 3-betting this spot to great success in the last few months.
So let's take a look at the idea of small 3-betting here.
I don't think you have one versus this late a position. It needs to be a starting position.
Thanks for hanging with us tonight. If you want, send me a message on Discord and we'll get you connected with the community spoon.
I
There
like the
is no
small
micro-
3-bet. If we're a little deeper, like 23 big blinds.
If you do it versus like under the gun real quick.
Mhm.
You'll start seeing slivers to small 3-bets. It becomes more of a thing, but during this late position. It's just no.
If we go to 25, do we start getting those micro 3-bets? Was it cut off?
Yes, I think you'll start having some.
Yeah, here, when we're a little deeper, you're definitely in the right idea here, Vince.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
like this 20, 25, 30 big blind spots.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of micro 3-bets recently, and like they're really they do really well. Because
Yeah.
like I think in general, they're like that just doesn't happen a lot. So the public thinks that it's a trap. It's like, why is he 3-betting so small?
Well,
Why
because
doesn't
look at
he
what
just
you're,
all in?
look at what you should be doing it with.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're finding these slivers, it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, it's like a population exploit where
Yep.
they just don't see a mini 3-bet often enough, so that like it just seems more scary.
Yeah, as you transition from 20 to 40 big blinds, the non-all-in 3-bet size becomes more and more prevalent. And so, 20 and under is kind of the line on that, right? Like where you're defending with jams, you just want to realize equity. But like that's the whole thing about getting out of the 20 big blind phase and starting to have 30 and 40 big blinds allows you to play much more creatively without putting too much of your stack at risk. So yeah, if you have 23 big blinds, if you have
Yeah, I guess
25
there's
big
not
blinds,
there's not much all in, not all in at 20. It's hard though when you have to decide when you play 30. Because versus the button, you still have a lot of jams at 30, but then like versus the
Peter.
later position, you don't jam 30 from the small blind is hard.
Yep.
Can
'cause
you really
do
quickly,
non-all-ins and calls easier.
can you look at the big blind strategy too? I
Sure.
was curious.
sure, we'll take a peek at like 25 big blinds
Yeah, 25, yeah.
versus that micro 3-bet.
No, sorry, like small blind fold and then like if we're the big blind, what are we,
sure.
what are we 3-betting there?
Cutoff
It's
raises.
gonna be like ace 4 off, ace 7 off type stuff.
What is our big blind strategy?
Yeah,
so
in 20 big
At
blinds,
20,
you
at
still
25.
jam.
5.
Some ace to 6 and stuff.
2.1 from the big blind. We're still going to be very linear here. All our pairs are still going to do really well with shoves. We're still going to have lots of aces that want to shove, but we start having these non-all-in 3-bets with our best value. And because we get to do it with our best value, we're going to have some aces that do it, some suited connectors that do it, and some pairs that do it.
Can I see the big blind squeeze range at 20 big blinds?
8.5
versus
it
the
wants
small
to go
blind
here.
flat.
Yeah, small blind flat and then big blind squeeze range.
And then
Can I
big
see the
20
under
big
the gun
blinds.
versus under the gun 3-bet range at 85 big blinds?
All right. Nick,
Wait,
I'm
so
putting
if
you
we
on.
make it 8.5 with ace 7 off and they go all in, are we not priced in?
Okay, down the rabbit hole we go.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this king 10. We get this 3-6 pregnant 3 flop. Probably not a board we're gonna lead.
A pregnant 3. I've
Yeah.
never heard that before.
3 6s is 9s.
When next time you make it to Winnipeg, we're gonna have a home game with Cheat and me, and you'll get pregnant 3s and as wild cards.
Is that just a Winnipeg thing?
It's definitely a
Sounds
Winnipeg
like it, eh? Yeah.
but other people have had it too.
Yeah.
I've heard it other places. All right, flop goes check, check. King 10. Does king high want to show down?
I think so.
No,
Like we
I
don't
think
have
so.
any piece of this, I think, in our range.
Sure we do.
I would
Do
bet
we?
The
if I
gutter
had
and
a
overs.
Like
I would bet if
10-9
I had a
suited?
spade.
Is 10-9 suited not jamming?
No, it's not.
No, 10-9's too
Oh, I guess,
good.
yeah, it's too
Right?
good.
Like Jack 9 that can't make a straight would pot bet probably, or bet 5.
Oh
Do we even have Jack nine here? Jack nine suited, exactly.
Okay,
What
It's
size
definitely
would
gonna be
we
a
go here?
polar spot.
yeah,
5.
Yeah.
Yep. yeah, if you bluff, you need to generate fold equity here. You can't bet small.
I'm probably going 3.3.
Yeah, I'm highly checking here. I'm not gonna bet, but when I am betting, I am gonna bet big here.
Yeah.
I don't
think
have
I'm-
close to this amount of donking frequency.
Well, this
Oh,
is a,
the flop went check
it's a
check.
Or
pro-
sorry, leading
yeah.
leading frequency.
well, like, what worse hands do you have?
We have a good hand to lead. We have the gutter.
Yeah. Probing the gutter is actually something that we are supposed to do a lot, but in a spot where you want to be polar, it's tough. I think I have enough
Yeah.
better stuff to defend here. I would probably fold.
Yeah,
No,
I'm folding.
I think it's a call. If we're not
I-
gonna probe, I mean, I don't know. I think it's
Just
too
a
good with
gutter and
two
an
overs and a
over.
gutter.
I mean,
Is it better that we have no spade or worse?
I'm
it's-
clicking sometimes because we don't have a spade.
Better.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I could get on board with Nick here. I can fold or
Oh.
raise, but I don't think I can call here.
I'm not
Raise is
calling.
interesting.
I'm just folding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
If
pure
this hand
folding.
was
Oh.
bad enough to be one of your
Wow.
bluffs, it is going to be either one of your check raises or a fold.
Raise to 10. Like,
Raise to 7.5. Right, as the positive
Yeah.
E.
like why even mix the sides there? That makes no sense.
If you're
And
gonna have
now I'm all
value
in.
that goes those two sizes too. And
I would not bluff this card. I think it's like the worst card to bluff.
I need a spade. I mean, we blocked the straight.
yeah, but we
We
don't have a
made,
spade.
we
now,
made our
but-
bed.
He'll have a lot of jacks. And it's like so low SPR.
The
Yeah, the
function
big
of our
thing
check
is-
raise range too. It's like, what are we check raising that doesn't
He's
get
there.
there?
Yeah, I mean, Jack 10
True.
got there, Jack 7 got there. We don't, I mean, I don't think we have Jack 7.
I
Maybe.
just don't expect a ton of folds. On that run out.
This king 10, it really likes to play with a spade. Lower frequency with all the other stuff, but still also very prevalent in the strategy. And when we get to the river. The jack of spades. It still bluffs the spade sometimes. Right? Probably looks like you wanna have a spade to bluff here. Right, that's
I think
just
we get to
straight.
bluff all the bricks. Like any brick river, we're happy.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, I think,
Yeah.
I think, again, this is a function of it, this being one of our worst hands.
So
Just
if the
purely-
river is an offsuit deuce, like are we just ripping it?
Yes.
We're 100% rip.
I mean, I am.
We check raise, right?
Clubs. Yeah, when we
Without
check
the
raise
spade, I am.
Yeah,
and the
bricks are
deuce of
good.
clubs comes. And
Yeah, we're still checking.
off
right?
is not going.
What's
that
doing
one
with
checks.
queen 10 pure frequency and queen jack? It's
Huh.
Oh, I
Maybe
guess king
king
10
high
has,
is good enough to win a showdown. I don't know.
yeah, so it,
we
it just
beat queen
chooses the
jack and-
slightly, chooses the slightly worse bluff.
Is it because like we don't have that many hands to just like check showdown? We have to get king 10 in here.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's
king,
to
and ace
balance the
seven.
value to bluffs perfectly. It chooses to bluff the slightly worse hands first, and then you just reach your criteria for proper bluff to value ratio.
yeah, like if you look at the queen 10, like checking it down earns 0.6 chips. Betting it actually earns less chips and jamming it earns slightly more chips. So it like, it wants to check down king high and queen high here, but it needs to have some bluffs. So it just turns the lowest ones into bluffs and just checks king 10. But your instinct is right here, right? Like you're pulling from this side of the hands.
Wow. We thought king 10 was our stone bottom, but it's not.
But that's on the deuce run, right? Like the jack just makes those hands, so it pushes it up a bit. So the king jack does it a bit. All right, jack nine.
I don't like calling here, to be quite honest. And even if the solver tells me that I should, I don't want to listen.
I'm kind of with you. It's probably very low EV spot and you're just gonna be dominated a lot.
It was 0.17. It's better than 0.02.
Yeah.
I like calling
Yeah.
this more than I like calling king jack off.
Oh, no, for sure. 20, I'm kind of ambivalent because your SPR is so low. And
Well,
top-
yeah, okay.
I'm folding both.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just because if you hit top pair, you're just good, right? You're not really at 40. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
All right, we received the
Okay.
very disrespectful 1.2 chip bet.
We have two back doors.
We do.
That's
I
right.
think
We
we're
block a
gonna
lot of
call.
8x.
It's
I
just
think
a
I fold or click. I don't really call.
call.
This could be a decent click.
I think it's gonna
I'd
mix.
mainly
call.
fold. I don't know.
I think I mainly fold just because I think we have
I can do all three
Better.
actions.
Maybe I wouldn't fold. I don't know.
Can we get a gold star to the person who said I can do all three actions?
Thank you very much.
yeah.
But can we get the best gold star to the guy who said I primarily fold here?
Yeah, but but then I was like walking it back as you clicked the action.
I could
Oh,
Well, that's a turn.
yep.
I'm going to check here.
Whoa, you're gonna check. We check raised.
Oh, we check raised? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
all in. Sorry.
All in.
I'm not all in here. I'm checking or I'm betting for.
Yeah, we
I'm
check raised.
trying to get an ace to fold here, fellas.
Well, think of it this way. If we had an 8, what size would we want to bet?
All in.
You can't shake the fish off the line.
we would I mean, I think all of our sizings here would be like small, like a third probably. Yeah,
Exactly.
like
And
Fine,
there,
fine.
there is a big EV difference here. This is a spot where if you have an 8, you want to keep the fish on the line.
and I think it's
Half
I
pot
think
is
it's
not
gonna
too bad,
geo
though.
I think it's gonna go with third because it's pretty much geo sizing at this point to try to get all the rest of the money in on the river.
I mean, but how many eights do we have?
A lot.
I
More
think
than
a
Jack,
I
eight,
think
10,
a
8,
big
9,
part of
8,
my
8, 7,
strategy
8, 6.
is like determining whether or not any given opponent can fold a top pair. And in my estimation, the solver cannot fold a top pair.
I use the abbreviation CFTP, and I have a lot of players who are marked with CFTP.
Yeah.
You can't fold top pair. When you have that tag, you are getting this all day, and I am milking you. And I reduce that stack to pot ratio with all my 8s, and then I just don't turn this hand into a bluff against the guy who can't fold top pair.
If they can't fold top pair,
Oh no.
would you rather not just jam turn and give them one decision where they can't fold? Rather than
No.
like maybe letting them off at the river?
So a player who can't fold top pair, when I check raise and they call, I'm done. When I turn equity, like I'm just gonna try and realize my equity and check.
Oh, sorry, I meant when we have an 8.
When we have an 8, no, I'm like
Yeah,
they're not gonna fold top pair. So I'm gonna make it easier for them. I'm only gonna make them call 4 chips, right, on the flop, and then I'm gonna make them call 4 chips on the turn, and then because the stack to pot ratio is so close, they're just gonna say, well, it's only a stack to pot ratio of 1 on the river, so they're just gonna call.
I think also it's good to note here that if they have top pair, they cannot possibly have a flush draw on the turn.
Ooh. Savage. When I make jack here, I am checking. This is a mistake.
Are you trying to get an ace to fold? Go all in and
Yes.
see what the.
Yep, you are absolutely trying to get an ace to fold because you have so many 8s here.
Yeah, but all of a sudden I pick up this reasonable amount of showdown.
It's not really that relevant.
Can I see if an ace
Yeah,
is
what do we
even
beat
folding?
now?
Yeah, but no, it's not really that relevant because what checks back that we beat?
Queens and kings,
It's
maybe.
only
Yeah,
a few like
queen,
sticky pocket
King,
pairs,
queen suited.
pocket tens and pocket nines.
Worse spade draws. Like king, queen of spades,
Yeah, I mean, that's not a lie.
right?
They might bluff that
Let me
still.
go all in. Does an ace fold Vincent? Yes.
The
some
worst
aces,
aces.
I
a
mean,
lot of aces.
Yeah, because his range is so ace X, is so ace X dense here that we have to try to get some of those hands to fold.
Can I see ace four, ace five, and ace six? Let's see all those combos. Like they're all arriving here.
At how much frequency?
Yeah.
How would they not get here?
Pretty
Because
prevalent.
like you're calling a imagine you're in the early position.
Some of them.
So you're
shed turn, I
facing
guess.
you're facing a check raise and then a c bet and then like a jam or as a c bet where like the SPR is like 0.5 on the river. It's like super tough to call with an like ace four on the turn here, right? Because like the other opponent, number one, can just have an eight, but also like their aces that are check raising are just better than yours.
I think it's a function of stacks. Like at 20 bigs, top pair just. I'm actually surprised top pair folds here as much as it does.
Yeah, like look at this range.
I mean, I'm really am because you would think that on this run out, all of the ace X would, I would think all the ace X would just call down because of SPR.
Yeah.
So
Can I
the
see
seven-
the river, but like the size of the square is proportional?
Yep, yep.
And it could just be that our opponent just, when they get here, they folded out all of the, everything worse than an ace or an eight.
Yeah.
So now they
there's-
get to fold out some aces.
There's so few aces that you're actually folding out. Cause like if you add ace five and ace four, that's like counts as like full frequency ace six. So you're really folding out like ace six, ace seven, and ace 10.
All right, guys, I gotta go. Thanks for the session.
Not a ton.
Bye,
more.
Nick.
Yeah.
See you.
Fun.
Like
we'll do
it
one or two
doesn't
more.
it
11.
doesn't feel like there's enough aces to fold out to jam here. To
Yeah,
like
that's why I was checking.
yeah. This one is a little bit weird too.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it really is just a weird function of range interaction. Yeah,
Gets
Oh, we
there.
got him.
quick, plus.
and he calls anyway.
But like think
No,
about
he-
it,
he
right?
folded.
Like realistically, he's not even supposed to arrive there. Because he's folding so often on the turn, right? So to think that
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna get ace four to fold is like, come on, man.
Yeah, I
Guys,
mean,
My
I feel-
bedtime too. Thanks for doing a bang up job, Pete. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks very much, Darren. We'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
yeah, it's a interesting spot. I think it's more of a solver spot than a real life spot.
Oh, you don't want to know what I'm doing here.
Oh,
Call.
yeah. No.
No,
Mainly call,
Yeah, call.
Done one.
But I mean, there is a little bit of
Oh.
this.
mainly jam.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
split.
I'm jamming a lot.
Yeah, I know you are, Vince. I know I am too, right? Like, this is the solver special little baby, right? So,
I love this solver special.
okay, but say we play this in a more reasonable manner. A flop a
especially-
gutter.
We can lead here small. It's not like insane. Yeah, I think like I think checking is like 100% check is probably like the safest play, but I don't think that leading small is insane.
The big blind's gonna have leads here, right? Our small blind's a little more condensed range.
It's the same reason before, like on queen high boards, but also
Yeah.
uniquely we have ace four suited. So like I actually do like a small lead.
Yeah, I
sometimes.
think the interesting thing is we don't have that much as much queen X here as you think. Because some of that, a fair amount of that's like ace queen's gonna jam pure, king queen's gonna do a lot of jamming.
I don't think king queen's jamming here though.
Probably not against another one. King, queen is probably gonna call. But
King queen off, well, king queen.
king, queen
suited.
off, king, queen
Yeah.
off, king, queen suited, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, are we check raising here? Our gutter, backdoor flush?
I like check raising here.
Is it
I would,
Seeing
in
as
game, I
how
would
like to
mainly
call.
call,
I think this is a mandatory check raise.
but I like raise too.
I don't think it's a mandatory, but I like check raising.
So I
I
would
would say
say,
30% raise.
okay, it's very reasonable.
I
I would say-
generally go to, actually, no, sorry, he's doing a 20% bet. Yeah, so 3.95. If he does
Yeah.
1/3, I go 5.8.
40 big blinds, I'm 100% checking this combo. 20 big blinds, I am primarily calling this combo.
Did you mean 30, you're mainly raising?
No, 40 big blinds, like 40 big blinds. Once I get that deep, I am just check raising all day with this.
Okay, okay.
But
Yeah,
I'm
I'm check raising here. a
still
lot.
check raising this one.
70%.
I like how called is like not even in contention.
Yeah, it's almost none.
3.5%.
Because
So
this
I'm
is
too
probably
passive
about
here.
as premium-ish of a draw as we're going to have. And
Yeah,
you need to have premium draws along with your any other hands you want to check raise.
Ace 3 and ace 4.
I think it's also good to note like we have pocket deuces and pocket fives here.
We have to have some kind of good strong draw here. This is about as strong a draw as we're gonna have. That would be my rationale.
40 big blinds, it's still check raising like a maniac.
Your rationale is way better than mine. Mine is that I have an ace which blocks ace queen.
Okay, cool.
Uh-oh, pick up equity. Check raise, pick up equity.
I
we
think
go
a lot
for
of
the
his queens
4
are gonna
again?
jam. So I like betting here.
We could even go 2.8, nah.
See,
We have a
it's
lot of queens that check raised.
2.8, 4 point. I think it's small, but I don't know if it's 4.6 or 2.8. I don't know if we get to go that small. I think it's 4.6.
If we had a queen, how big would we want to bet?
I think we would want to be geoing this, right? To set up 17, 20, yeah.
Mhm.
4.6.
It is checking fairly high frequency. But barreling a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm betting 33% a lot here.
17, because then it sets up like the pretty nice, a nice size for the
I'm going to check.
Yeah, so now it's particularly bad that we have hearts, which is the hand that he's most reasonably calling with. He doesn't have a lot of cards that have straight equity here. So
We
he's
beat
just
king
very
jack of
easy.
hearts and king 10 of hearts.
yeah, I mean, this is we're now blocking this stuff we wanted them to have. It's pretty easy. What do you have? Ace 4?
Oh, look at
Oh.
Llamas on the river.
He got
Oh.
his.
Savage.
Look at him call the check raise barrel. with a
How is he
gutter
calling
and
there?
ace
What
high.
is going on?
Yeah, I got a question. When it shows cards like this, is this from actual play or is this computer generated?
Computer
This is all
generated.
computer generated, but I
Okay,
guarantee
okay.
that this has run out in someone's hand at some point in the universe.
Right.
You know what
I
though?
guess-
If I see this, like if we get to showdown and I see this hand, I am 100% giving this guy a mark.
Yeah, ace 4. By the way, ace 4 is on the turn is just a pure, very profitable call on the turn for ace 4 clubs.
This is like a pure call on the turn too. Oh my
It's
god.
pure. It's like it's making like a 1 point. It's like making like 1.6 or 1.7 big blinds.
You
Alright,
know what?
trust you.
I'm not playing ace 4 suited correctly then.
Other than hearts, it is one of his best draws as well.
Yeah,
Jeez.
alright, queen ten, just fold.
But
We'll do one or two more. Alright, ace deuce, are we getting loose?
yeah, I think this is
Yeah.
this is just
Against
this is a
button.
rip against the button. I think all of your suited
I'm
aces rip.
ordering an extra large ripperoni pizza.
You are getting delivered pocket kings.
But we get the
Easy.
ace.
See ya, pocket kings, 42 bigs, let's go. Oh,
I'm calling.
We saw this one earlier. It was a small raise. It was like aces and kings and slivers of other stuff.
Yeah, this is one of the this is the edge case where you can
Oh, it's
Like-
even jamming some.
I'm
So-
calling here because the big blind goes all in so often.
This almost exact hand happened to me yesterday. Pete, in that, when I was playing with Galen there in that tournament, this is exact hand. And a guy, I chickened out, he bet big. And he bet
I
like
think we can check
nine
here,
big
probably.
blinds.
I think we bet, but I don't, but I think, but I think it's small, like quarter.
so.
Honestly,
Think of
I
the
can-
hands that we are
I can,
three betting
uh,
non all in size. We have aces, kings, and then bluffs that contain aces and kings. We are particularly devoid of queens here.
So I think our whole range just bets here. I don't think we have any checks.
I think we can do all the actions.
Ooh,
I
like the sound
checked
of-
it yesterday and then I got all scared after, but he bet like nine big blinds or 10 big blinds. See, I made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simply because like our range is literally aces, kings, and whatever else. So and aces and kings
Yeah.
are always gonna want to bet.
Like, here's the thing.
It's
when-
just
when you
solo
take-
SPR that if he has
Yeah.
a queen, like so be it, right?
Do we fold to a jam?
Let's take a peek.
Probably not, right? Well,
But-
maybe on this turn.
Well, it
Uh,
you can, but you would be losing 20 big blinds.
I think we check on the ace because like
Yeah.
I don't think worse calls now.
We
Like
either have
I don't
aces
think
full
pocket
or
jacks is still calling.
Yeah, what
So
is? Oh,
He gives
they
us
don't
the
have. They don't have
Rooney.
a.
Yeah, our
Don't have
kings
a-
just call off for 20 big blinds. It's huge.
whoever said you're losing 20 bigs if you fold, you nailed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just pulled up GTO Wizard. I was just curious about the spots it was running out at the same time he did. But like, I just know here your range is so compressed that just literally just nope. Because literally you have like what 15 combos of hands.
But like the guy's just whispering into your ear like I have a queen.
It's almost like a 4-bet pot spot in terms of the ranges.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's
And
even tighter than that, actually.
Who's betting?
If-
Who's betting 10% here? Come on, come on.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, our range contains a lot of single aces, a lot of pairs of aces, and a lot of pairs of kings. This is actually the worst hand that we have.
Yeah, we're at the stone bottom of our range.
Oh, and he folds. But yeah, like
Got max value from sixes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so when we bet small here, I was exactly saying like I don't think any worse is calling anymore. So like, what is even the point of betting here?
Because tens call. Because jacks call.
probably the flush draw calls, right? Because like you bet 10% of the pot.
I think you might be thinking because sixes call. I think because sixes folds, it doesn't mean that everything else folds.
Yeah, and you
Can
you're
we
still
can
turning
we
like
see his can we see their range? Their
Just
folding?
because it's such a small bet. If he's got tens there, probably in theory, probably still does has to call.
But like, what if we didn't bet like exactly 10% of the pot? You know what I mean? Like, I want to see the range as well, but it doesn't. It feels too thin.
I think in practice it's probably too thin, but
he's-
this is like the
so-
solver. This is solver world.
he's calling 87% of range against our 2-chip bet.
Yeah, and again, it's because it's 10%. So he has to
Can we,
defend so wide.
Can I see 5.1?
Yeah, sure.
The bet is 5.1.
So when we have this size, a fold 6s and 7s and his gutters.
Yeah, so he's calling at the same frequency. Like clearly he's calling with the queen, obviously. And then
Yeah.
like aces again if he
Yeah.
has it, obviously. And then like
Yeah, so this is the
Oh.
danger of solver land, is that in practice, if you get here and somebody's got 10s or 8s or jacks, they're not calling.
so we're
So-
literally only targeting two hands where there's pocket jacks and pocket tens.
Yeah,
No, like the other end here is we keep in his king jack and king 10 straight draw as well.
But like I again, it feels so thin because we have two kings, right? So
Yeah.
for them to have king jack and king 10 suited is like even thinner.
Well, it's part of his range, right? Like his range is so
Yeah.
compressed to start with that. And we'll take a look, like when we put it at range height. Oops, what is it? Range height. Yeah, he has it at pretty full frequency still. So
This also lets us bluff really cheaply with our
Yep.
sixes or whatever sliver we might have that is bad.
yeah, and allows us to get value when we have a queen. If we had queens in range. All right, queen
Alright.
jack off. Strong enough to call or fold.
it's right at the edge, but I think it's probably a soul call.
I'm gonna take off. Good night, guys.
See you, Vince.
Night.
Great
night.
session.
Thanks.
Keep crushing.
Right at the edge. You're completely right. You're on the knife's edge. 40-60. But
I don't find
get
these
here.
enough.
Uh-oh. Jack 10 with a flush draw.
Check.
Ooh,
With
I wonder
the-
how often do you think this guy's gonna stuff 18 big blinds into this pot?
More than you think, because Jack 10 boards. Jack 10 is one of those weird edge case boards where I think he'll do this a lot.
Jack 10 with a flush draw specifically. Like there's gonna be some disgusting things going on.
You mean we check and he just goes all in?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
have seen that with It's
Yeah,
like
Jack-
this board exactly, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Jack
chooses
10
the big
boards are
bet
just,
size.
Jack 10 two-tone boards are just so weird like that. I
Yep.
can't remember. It was in tournament masterclass, poker coaching. That's where I remember seeing it.
Yeah, this texture of specifically of board. I think it's just going to nail his range so strongly. Jam, 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 jam. Like it's when he doesn't jam, like he has to check a lot of his range because his range isn't very protected here because so much of his stuff is jamming. That yeah, this is just pretty gross. So he has to check with sets of 10s and jacks here to protect his range a little bit because of how gross this is. But
In some of those hands actually like bet the size that we're looking at too, which is kind of
Yep.
awkward.
yep, we are in the box. Like there is nothing good that can come of this board, this texture, and this range interaction. And you just have to know, like, if you have a tight range under the gun one, and you get this type of board, like this is a 40 big blind thing too, where you're just gonna see someone go pot or pot and a half, right, on this type of board texture a lot.
Because there's so much interaction with the Broadway portion of his range.
Yeah,
Which
and
makes
there's
up so much of his actual range.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do. Right?
And it will actually shove a little bit. Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I was wondering if this hand actually starts to shove.
Oh, it just decides to stuff it. Picks up equity with the top end straight draw. And says, I know you have pocket kings, I don't care. Ace six.
We wait for the safe turn. Does it even matter that we pick up equity? Like, if it's a 6, is it still stuffing?
Let's take a peek at what we stuff on that turn.
Cuz I would be tempted against the size on the flop to just check jam, but maybe it likes waiting for like a non-ace, non-king turn.
Yep,
It
non-ace,
stuffs
non-king.
more, if you look at reports, it'll tell you what it's, if you look under reports, it'll actually tell you what it stuffs.
Does it have it at 20? I didn't think
Yeah.
it did.
I just pulled it up
Oh, yeah.
on the
these
side.
ones, Yeah.
So you can see like it's going to most,
Oh,
Oh,
this is-
if you
yeah,
look at the small blind.
nuts.
I was gonna say, look at the small blind.
So it is stuffing a 9, it's stuffing an 8, it's stuffing a 7, it's stuffing 6s, stuffing hearts.
Hearts a lot of middle paired, a lot of the middle cards.
Mhm.
Hearts, medium hearts and middle cards are what it likes to
Yeah.
stuff in some spades.
So the 7 and the 8 and the 9 complete the bottom end equity, which we're just gonna have a little more of than he does. So like when the 8 comes, like we're gonna have 9-7, right? And we're gonna have 10-8 and stuff like that, a little more than he will. So that's just a little bit of an advantage for us. Right, so you can see all the overcards are bad here. The exception of the ace of spades.
Cool.
Yep. All right, let's do one more good one. Oh,
What's your record for the longest Monday nighter?
longest Monday nighter? Probably like 2.5 hours, but
We got it.
like we used to do study sessions and we would go from 9 a.m. till like 2:45 in the afternoon. We'd do like 5-6 hour study sessions.
How long's PS4U been around?
As the Discord, couple years. Like it used to be something different and then it got rebranded to PS4U. But yep. All right. Draw it off. Let's go. Suited 1 gapper, 10-8. This has got to be bottom of range. Ooh, pregnant 3s again. A
Wow.
little bit of leading. Big bet. Oh, it's got a gutter. Just gonna fold. Oh, look at this. It wants to recoup
Got an over.
0.005.
It's a function of having an over, the gut shot and an over.
An over, a
over.
gutter.
Not straight.
I mean, I am just so nitty here. I'm making this, and we catch it.
Well, let's see what happens.
It's pretty
Okay.
indifferent. It's fine either way.
So are we gonna lead here? Board texture changes. He bet big on the flop.
This would be like, I don't know what it does at small sizes, at bigger sizes, like this would be a card we would absolutely lead. Because it's because it completes a bunch of draws that should, but we're small blind, that
low
big blind.
spade. The low spade is kind of neutral, right? Like a higher spade is
Yeah,
better
and
for us.
Yeah, and we're small blind, not big. I'm thinking of it more like a big blind spot. This would be like a clear, like leading card. But
The ace of spades is particularly bad for him.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it just rips it.
it does lead, but it stops.
Just a donk rip. Savage.
And it's probably just now just doing that because it has the best hand. We have an SPR of 1 and it just wants to protect its equity.
Yep. And it's like, if you have a pair with a spade, I don't want you to get there.
I
I'm gonna
love when
make
the
you- I'm gonna
solver
make you pay
plays
to
like
get
a
there.
fish.
I'm gonna make you pay to get there, basically. But
Yeah,
these are,
because like
but these are interesting spots because I never find these. I would never be like,
donk
I
jam.
I might lead this small, but I would never like find like the check raise 15 big blind shove here. But it's probably right.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the primary option here, and like all the options are good. Like you have made a hand that is so strong that you can't really misplay it. Yeah. Oh, look at that! He's just ace five of spades. Yeah, and that's why like the ace of spades is particularly bad for him here because it blocks so many of his flushes and unblocks so many of ours. But the seven of spades, you said it's a neutral card, so. But I mean, we made it straight. We're going home. We're giving up our 20 bigs, and he's getting 40, and try and find another tournament. All right. Trappy, 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 trappy. Always.
Little
There's
calling.
Vince, 6% call. Oh, happy
Oh.
day.
So earlier we saw this and I thought it was calling, like half the time. Was that
Later,
against later
there are I
position?
get certain positions. I think it calls. I think it does call more.
Yeah, we'll move through the positions and we'll take a look at how aces were responding, because playing aces correctly in this spot is going to be really important, right? You don't want to blow your opponents off their hands.
Like it's like you never rip aces. It's just whether you what frequency you call as opposed to three
Yeah,
bet small.
so against these two ranges, their ranges pre-flop, like when we go back here, this range is just tight enough that when we 3-bet, he's just not going to fold very much. So when we use this 3.5 size, what is his strategy? Right? Like he's folding 40, he's calling 32, and he's jamming 27. And this 27% jam is functionally just dead. Right? This call that has 32% chance has a chance to realize its equity a little better, and it has the chance to get away from the hand. Right? Because we're going to be betting from out of position into him. So like if he doesn't like the structure of the flop, if he calls with king jack of spades and the flop comes 3, 4, 5 of diamonds, he's just not going to get stacked with king jack of spades here. Right? Same if he calls with ace queen of hearts and the flop comes, 6, 4, 2 with 2 clubs and a spade, like he's just going to get away from this hand after one small bet maybe. So we really want to keep these guys in the pot. So against these two guys, our small blind 5.5 strategy is going to keep them around a lot, and half the time we're going to get some or all of their chips. When we jam, right, under the gun, we're only going to get 40% of their chips. Right? But we're going to get all of these chips when they don't hit. But like we just like keeping in more hands here because our aces are just never going to fold really, no matter what the board is. And yeah, we do better by keeping these hands in, having them a chance to make a top pair or a draw, and try and suck out on our aces. That's really the best case scenario in poker. When we move to low jack and the hijack, there is 2 and the small blind. Now we start mixing. And this is where, like Vince said, like, if you're not finding other things to balance this micro 3-bet with, it's always aces. So it's better to flat here against the low jack and the hijack. right? Like it's just pure flatting aces, and now it flats kings as well. And then the cutoff. Pure flat aces, kings, starting to flat queens. And the button raise. And our small blind strategy. We are so jam heavy here that we are just protecting our range with aces. Because we are jamming so wide, it disguises our kings and queens here. Because we are in here with Jack 9 and 10-8 and Queen 10 and King 10, right? And Ace 8. So we don't have to worry about hiding our kings and queens and even our aces quite so much. Although I am always calling my aces here, trapping in. But yeah, oh, just easy spot. All right. I think that was a pretty good session for tonight. This.